What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the LCS and the LCS waiting room as we gear up for TSM versus Evil Geniuses. Another best of 5 hitting your screens. It's the 1 seed against the 7 seed. We'll see if TSM's got a surprise for us, as it was already a bit surprising to see EG fall down to the lower brackets. How'd you guys do on that quiz?
So I was trying to fact check some of those stats.
Were you?
Surprised me, yeah. Like the first Blood King, Hans Sama, is it kills and assists or just kills?
I think it's kills.
Because if it's just kills, then maybe. Because if it's participation, it's contracts.
Okay, yeah.
Santorin's been robbed. It has to be, right? Because he's getting assists. He's not going to take the kill.
It was that one, and then what was the other one? It was, a player on most unique teams. I was surprised that it was Apollo.
It's not Dardoch.
And, that wasn't Dardoch, or even Solo himself. I was like, how many teams does that guy play for?
I remember. So, like, it depends on if it's LCS teams, because I feel like maybe a lot of those are, like, academy teams.
Right,
or, like,
yeah. Where's the line?
In the early LCS days with, like, other teams.
We'll go bother Pacer Time about it later.
To give us
we're gonna hunt him down. We're gonna get some more info. Either way, those quizzes are a ton of fun. If you haven't been keeping up with LCS 10 and 10, check out the YouTube channel. You're gonna find all that kind of stuff. As we do, though, we're going to dive back into some LCS playoff play. Yesterday, Team Liquid Honda completing the reverse sweep against CLG.
Santorin had such a great series.
Player of the series, by the way.
And we have to do it to him like that, right? I think the big thing is CLG came out really, really strong in the first 2 games. And then TL actually did manage to pull off that reverse sweep.
Yeah, heartbreaking for the CLG boys, the fact that you were able to get those 2 first games, and then, like you can see in each progressive game past that, the soul being sucked out of them. Hey, and when it got to that game 5, they went back to the tried and true of Macaulay and Yone, and it just wasn't enough.
And where did this Jinx pick come from? This was the craziest read by Team Liquid that worked out amazingly. This whole Zeri, Sivir, handshake stuff that they were doing was just not working from them.
Yeah.
And they just reached back into the past. And Hans Sama crushes lane phase with it pretty much 3 games in a row, and they're able to take the series, like, convincingly in the last 3 games.
Yeah, you love to see it because it's a signature pick from him, and it still does adhere to some of kind of what we've talked about in terms of the meta and the way it's playing, and that, like, all right, that is still your late game damage insurance. You're just about getting her to that point.
Yeah, and I love the Santorin commentary in the Pro to Pro, where he was just talking about, like the word Jinx just came up, and then they picked it, right? And he was like, hey, I asked him, like, are you comfortable in that situation? He's like, yes, because my team sees that win condition. And he also, like, much like, hey, I'm Trundle. Like, and you could say the same for Hans Sama being Jinx. It's really just like, he is so good at Jinx that when he sees the angle, of course you give it to him.
Well, and after yesterday, he's now 14-1, right?
Yeah.
All time. After that game 5, yeah,
it's crazy
in his career.
Yeah,
so that's nuts.
It's just astronomical record.
Oh, we got the Bjergsen and Zillion on that one too.
Gonna make a thing. Well, so this is where I
Brilliant.
love that you brought up the Jinx, because it wasn't the only kind of signature pick that we saw yesterday, right? We had the Zillion, we've seen the Swain in the past. We also saw the set, even though it wasn't successful on the side of TSM. Likewise for CLG, they're willing to pull out some of their signatures, like the Yone and the Akali. And so a lot of this playoffs has been about what are the unique things teams can bring in to augment the standard meta. So as we've seen a lot, I wanted to push you 3 a little bit more, to go that extra bit of distance and give me a pick that we haven't seen just yet that you think deserves to be played, maybe in specific scenarios, but give me the pick. Tell me who's going to play it, where they're going to play it, why it should be played. Emily, you're up first.
All right, deserves to be played? Maybe not.
Wait a minute.
But I think it's a really cool pick. It is Jungle Morgana. We're going to see
Kanavi.
Yeah, we're going to see Kanavi play it here. And then I believe my other clip should have been from Canyon. This is not something you want to pick early in the draft, right? We've been super hypercritical of, like, the early pick by. Obviously, what she does can be countered. It relies on other jungle bans as well. But I have really, I loved that, like, binding play right there. But I've really enjoyed watching some of these junglers in LPL and LCK just hit these bindings, lock people down. It's so obnoxious. It's very fun to watch. Again, deserve to be played? Maybe not.
You know,
but it's a fun pick.
Funny story about this. You know who's super good at Jungle Morgana?
Who?
Roxa. That's what, when you asked who's going to play it,
Really?
I was like,
We watched
that's so
like
cool.
5 scrims in a row at Worlds with it as a Lilia counter pick and never brought it out on stage.
All right, so here's
That's so funny.
So here's the thing. Where it should be played is into a Vi.
Yeah, you can.
It is the literal hardest counter for a Vi. You never want to see a Morgana support or a Morgana jungle on the other side. So that would be where I would look for it. If we do get one of those early Vi picks, a Morgana in response is just going to completely nullify her ability to get in on a fight.
Yeah, both of these were late in the draft. They were like 4 or 5 picks, and I believe it was into a Poppy, and then I forget what the other one was. But yeah.
Well, there was a Wukong I saw.
Wukong,
Yeah.
But the Poppy makes a lot of sense.
Okay, all right. So Morgana, an extra mage enchanter to go along with all the bot lane focus we've had so far in the meta. Has a pretty good argument so far.
What you got?
What'd you bring to the table?
Enchanters would love this pick. Does it deserve to be played? Yes. Twitch. Twitch.
We've seen it.
Twitch already.
So you didn't follow the assignment.
Yes.
But that's fine.
Well, actually, North America,
present to the class
I think we should see more Zeri.
It just isn't being played. So the one example that I had was the Fnatic game versus XL, in which Upset had a pop-up victory. Congratulations to Fnatic making it to Worlds, by the way. But also, yes, we've seen it throughout the split from FlyQuest specifically being picked into the Zeri. And right now, what we have been seeing is a lot of handshakes of Zeri versus Sivir. And I love the fact that yesterday we got to see the Jinx, where another example of high range. If she's able to get control of the lane early and gets the resources, then you kind of just take over, and it's really difficult for the Zeri to come into the game. Twitch is that as well. And I think that what we should be seeing more frequently is when we see bot lanes more comfortable, teams more comfortable playing more AD carries of that width, or like, you know, that range, you can go for that. Then you're going to be seeing support first picks. Like, we already saw a little bit of the Lulu first pick, or, you know, Yuumi in that first pick. If you are comfortable with your pool of AD carries, and you're not just limited to, we need to have Sivir, we need to have Zeri, pick up the Twitch and you'll have him in the lake.
Also love the few times we've seen the Twitch alongside the Wukong, right? With the Yuumi, giving two different options for the Yuumi to attach to and surprise an opponent. All right, we'll see if we get some more of that Twitch shaking up the bot lane meta. Jat.
I took this assignment a little bit differently.
Okay.
It was more pocket picks and signature champions.
Up to interpretation.
I like that.
And I think it's one of, like, I think signature champions are one of the coolest things in professional League of Legends.
Yeah.
The fact that someone can just have a pick that nobody else plays, but you will pull it out in a clutch situation, have total mastery over it, and even if you're into a counter pick, you'll be able to win. And this pick for me is Impact Shen. Whenever there's a big moment, he will be able to pull this out. So the last time he played it was against LCS in a Shen versus Camille matchup, but I've seen Impact. He can play this into Ornn. He can play this into, it's a terrible matchup, but he's played it into GP. He played it in a Game 5 of Finals into a Vladimir, which is one of the worst matchups, and still won with it. Like, he is so clutch on this pick, but, like, he is so seldom to use it, partially because, like, maybe he's just afraid other people will learn that it's super abusable, but you'll never see him get abused by it on stage. It's incredible.
Two things. I want to see the Shen as well, alongside the Wukong Twitch Yuumi kind of situation. Like, what a disgusting competition. We're starting to build a comp. One, I want to see that. Two, on the impact point, the Mordekaiser.
He's played it
the Mordekaiser as well. Yeah, but I'm like, but that's also a pick, right? That I know you've said in the past, like, he'll bring it out so infrequently, but when Impact says it's a time for Mordekaiser, you don't question him. You just lock it in.
Also, if I'm an AD carry, like, of course I want a Shen on my team.
Heck yeah.
There it is.
And if your AD carry is Danny, even better at that, looking to
Maybe we'll see it against Ornn.
I would love it. And Ornn,
he's very good against Ornn with it.
We were talking off screen about how Ornn might be the priority pick of the series randomly, considering the top winners. We'll get into more and more of how the matchup itself breaks down. First, let's take a look at the bracket, remind ourselves where we stand when it comes to the LCS postseason picture. We're down there in the lower half of the bracket, awaiting the 1 seed versus the 7 seed in Evil Geniuses versus TSM. But of course, TL awaits the winner of today's matchup. And tomorrow, we'll get that upper bracket bout between 100 Thieves and Cloud9, the 2 seed, 5 seed, each looking to book straight into the finals. And then the loser knocked down the loser's bracket. So still a lot to be decided here. 1 world seed up for grabs, and that's what these teams here are fighting for today. 1 more best of 5 afterwards will determine it, but they want to keep their hopes of it alive. EG. Surprised that they're even in this position, though. And Jad, I think that's where we have to start. This was the 15-3 regular season EG that loses their first BO5 in the postseason.
They lose 3 games in a day versus losing 3 games in an entire split. And it was definitely very shocking the way that they did lose. There were a lot of AD carry bans that they sent towards Berserker. Kalista bans, sometimes Lucian bans, Draven bans. I do wonder how they're going to try and adapt to this. My opinion is I hope they don't overreact. I think JoJo and Inspired had off days. I think they were very close in a lot of these games, but just lost some crucial team fights. I still think they're a very good team, and I hope that they just had an off day.
I think the two big things for me for C9 in this win that they were able to do to EG, part of it is those ADC bans. Another part of it is the way they used Fudge's willingness to just go into these counter picks, right? Off of a lot of what was happening with the bot lane. And then additionally, FLICKR and the entirety of C9 being able to track Inspired early was so massive because he could not, he definitely didn't have the same impact in their early and then by default in their mid game to be able to kind of be the engine of the team like he usually is. So I do want to give C9 and FLICKR credit for that specifically because it was a massive part of how EG lost.
Yes, credit to them. But you look to Evil Geniuses, all of the strengths that they had coming into that series, just like that every team respected them for, became their weakness, right? Their skirmishes and team fighting was really off. A lot of the times they took fights where they just didn't have numbers advantage. And that didn't work out for them. You know, specifically top lane counter matchups, we always say that impact is the rock was abused. Exactly. And so throughout, you're like, well, that's extremely uncharacteristic. And so you have to believe that they'll bounce back and perhaps be even stronger because you need that swift punch to the face to be like, okay, it's, you know, we now know this is going to be competitive. And we know our weaknesses and we know what to improve on. So that's going to be fun to see if that we get to see a little bit of that sneak peek versus TSM today.
It's really interesting what double elimination has done to the way teams approach playoffs. In the 4 splits since this format has been adopted, only once did the team that won the winner's bracket final win the split. And that was 2021 C9 Spring. TSM came from the loser's bracket. 100 Thieves came from the loser's bracket.
And EG.
And last split, EG came from the loser's bracket. So down but not out would definitely be the feeling for EG, and they should be thankful that they had the opportunity to lose when they still get the second chance. The sometimes elevated stress levels, which they are feeling right now, can lead to the most improvement. They would never choose to come through the loser's bracket, but it could be good for them in the long run.
Right.
Yeah, and it's going to be a really fun day today because, like, the whole trap game philosophy, good example being yesterday, Team Liquid probably coming into that series. Even Whippo in an interview with Travis Gafford was talking about, like, if we mess up, like, if we lose this series, it would be like us messing up colossally, right? Walking into a series and just, or even CLG versus Golden Guardians, and just expecting you're going to win and having that level of confidence, like, these series are not free. So I think it's actually good for Evil Geniuses looking at the environment and being like, no, this is a really competitive playoffs. We've seen not only in this region, but in the LEC, in the LPL, that anything can happen. So we just have to be extremely focused and just like basically never taking any game for granted. So I think this is going to be a good one just for that alone.
Raz saying today is going to be a good time. Don't threaten me with
Raz, you were lying down.
Don't threaten me.
I know.
With a gun.
I may have actually.
There's a $20 bill.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
Whoa! Hey! Oh, my
Yo,
God.
I just made 20 bucks.
Hey!
Hey, that feels pretty good.
This-
Fine.
I mean,
It's like a whole finder's keeper situation, right? You want it? Here you go. You do
give
good.
it to Raz.
No!
There we go.
I was literally about to say you do good work, and I take it all back.
No one here is on
I owed
C9.
him money for coffee.
have you-
That's
There
what
it
it
is.
was.
No, wait, so do I. I also owe money for coffee.
There it
No,
is.
damn.
There
both
it
paid
is.
him back.
There we go. We both paid him back. All
Have you
right.
seen Travis's,
Consider ourselves
like,
paid.
Travis's LCS players,
Yeah.
$5 double it.
Yeah.
The C9 players just took it all.
They all take it. Berserker, I like money.
Just all
Blabber,
take
like,
money.
absolutely.
True.
Come on, guys.
Someone
You're not
just
hurt.
needs to be like, oh, $1? Yeah, I'll take that.
Oh, Lordy. Okay.
Next question,
I
just
would
to
like
ruin
to
his
play that
content.
game.
Yeah, Travis, where's my invite to that game? I'm taking these quizzes.
Wait, he did.
There's no
didn't
prize
invite
money
us
for the
that.
quiz I have to take. Anyway, we'll try and refocus a little bit. While that was a series loss for Evil Geniuses, there was still a milestone hit, which we want to call out. Danny reached 500 kills all time. He's up to 503 here in just 110 games. Not quite the fastest in history to 500. Actually, Bjergsen beat him by just a little bit. However, Danny does have the highest average kills per game all time of players who have over 100 games played. So that is pretty damn cool here now, almost 2 years into his career, to tout such a number.
Absolutely. And the game is slowed down since Bjergsen was faster to 500 kills significantly. We were looking at some old stats. Bjergsen had like 45 solo kills in a split. Like, it was just a different era. Now you're like, ooh, 3 solo kills. That's a lot. So they play lane totally differently. So that's just what makes it more impressive that Danny is reaching 500 kills so quickly when you're only playing 18 games a split, and he's done it in essentially his third split plus playoffs in his career. EG has played so well around him. It was noticeably absent, actually, from their series against Cloud9, but I think the stats highlight just how powerful they are at playing that style.
Absolutely, and I have to bring up my phone just because I remember we were talking about the list of AD carries that were behind him in that stat, right? And, it's LCS 10 years of this league. Players like Kopp, Doublelift, Jensen, and Bjergsen behind him. Obviously, the sample size is important. A lot of these, like,
kills
Doublelift,
per game.
Exactly, when it comes to the kills per game. But, like, Kopp is really close to him, and it reminds me of, like, for a player as young as Danny, for a career that is just flourishing and the identity that he has and the team is willing to give him basically the resources, the jokes at MSI of like, hey, here's the kill. This force feeding Danny the kills inspired that interview was. It's amazing that he has so much confidence from his team that if you give him that resources, the return on investment always comes through. And I know that those numbers, those incredible numbers are either going to keep firm or if the meta's change, who knows what happens there. But like him as a player, as an identity, and it's so promising to see him at this level.
Yeah, Kopp. You mentioned Kopp. What a legend, man. First memory, though, for me, when you mentioned Kopp, is Double Eye Edge.
Yeah.
I'll never not be able to forget that moment. And it's just like, oh, no. 3,600 gold that he just spent on a second.
For me, it was as a League fan doing fantasy LCS, and I was like, I will get Kopp all the time.
Yeah, man, he performed. All right. Back towards this series, we've got two absolute monsters in the top lane going up against each other, but I think with two very different stories, right? Impact has long been talked about throughout the league as, the godfather of the top lane here in the LCS and a top performer. Solo, on the other hand, a mercenary. But I'm curious what Solo thinks about his opponent today in Impact.
Yeah, I mean, Impact's the same old dog that he's always been. I mean, he's just always doing his thing. Yeah, I mean, Impact, he's been the same player for so long, which is like a good thing because obviously he's really successful, like good player. So I'm always down to play against him because we always play like pretty similar styles. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully there won't be as much jungle intervention as there was in the first game, but you never know.
I like that he said like hopefully there won't be as much
you
jungle
get ganked because you play disrespectfully. That's how it works.
I also think like unironically, Ornn going to be a massive pick in this series for both of these players. They not necessarily play very similarly, but I think they both want to do a very similar thing for their team, right? Which is kind of be this like frontline protection for the rest of the team for massive 5v5 fights. And what we've seen from both of these teams would definitely point in that direction as well.
And looking at some of these stats, a surprisingly close all-time head-to-head, and also a lot of games. So if they don't meet in playoffs, you would only play against someone else 4 times per year.
Exactly.
So 19 matchups. The one that jumps to my mind was actually FlyQuest playing against TL in 2020 summer when FlyQuest knocked Team Liquid down into the losers bracket to make it into the grand finals. But Solo, surprisingly good against Impact. I feel like he just matches up well. He plays lane so aggressively and is almost forcing the enemy jungler to go up there, which I think is part of what makes Impact strong, is he generally doesn't need any jungle intervention, right? But it kind of changes the style that you have to play when you're against Solo because he just looks so killable. Like he plays lane in such a place where you're just drawn up there and he's a pressure sponge for his team.
100%. I remember during that time on FlyQuest where, a great Lord Third came up during one of the games and it said that, zero jungle proximity towards the top lane. They just didn't play towards Solo at all.
Don't play towards Solo, but the other team does.
Yes.
So it makes it easier for everyone else.
Yeah, which makes this a really fun match because both of these teams are coming into this with very similar identities, where they're going to be playing towards team fights and the better AD carry, better team fighter, and in this case, better frontliner who will be providing more space for his team is going to be the one that wins out.
Well, it's super interesting to compare it to EG's last series, right? Because we said that the top lane counter picks for Fudge were a massive part of how that worked out. And it's a completely different thing, but something you still have to keep in mind is like whatever is going on in that top side, kind of to your point, Jat, where like they are going to maybe look to bring attention there just because of the way he plays the lane, but it's not going to be Like, they're going to, I think, play champions with similar roles, to your point, Raz, for 5v5 team fighting in the mid to late game.
Yeah, I mean, we know Solo would be, he's fine being on Ornn duty all 5 games if he has to be. I know he is too. My question was going to be, if the Ornn falls into Impact's hands, do we think Solo and TSM would actually reach for the Fioras, the Camille's, those things? Or are they going to look for just kind of like, we'll just stabilize the matchup top lane and...
When I think about, like, do I want to see either of these guys on Camille? No.
Right.
So I think, like, it's a race to pick Ornn. Like,
That's what
I don't think either one of them will have a good
counter. If we see Ornn first picks, I'm going to laugh. So
well, not first picks, but, like, very early, I don't think would be bad.
Yeah,
Until someone proves they can
Pre-second
punish.
phase, I think.
Like, Impact could possibly have a pocket Shen, but that'll come out later in the series. I think early on, Ornn's going to be really hard to punish.
Yeah, and a pick we'll probably see more of is Renekton if they don't get the Ornn, right? Just picks that, hey, they are carries in a way, they'll stabilize the lane, and then they'll be like frontliners in team fights, especially with that build that they end up usually going for.
Okay.
That's a little bit more tankier after Blade of the Rune King. So I think that's another angle, and I'm just interested to see what the other pocket picks are going to be, but certainly expecting, you know, third pick red side Ornn, and then banning those things, stuff like that, where you're going to see early top lane picks in the rotation.
All right, well, we heard Solo say it himself. He's hoping for 0 jungle intervention, and to be honest, he might get that from his own team. I'm a little bit worried about it from the other side, though, and speaking of which, Inspired picked up Player of the Week last week. Let's hear from him now.
Thank you, Dash. For the 3rd time, I'm honored to be joined by EG Inspired, our MasterCard Player of the Week. We have all our representative trophies here from all of the accolades you have accrued. What do you owe this great success to?
I don't know. I feel like I played pretty good in the regular season. I think we had good idea of meta every time. So I was playing OP champions. I think during regular season there was like a lot of OP junglers coming up, like Poppy, and Wukong, and stuff like that. So I think I was a bit ahead of it, and I was just abusing the OP champs. And I think we just played well as a team. And if you play well as a team, jungler usually looks pretty good. So I think I got it.
I know we've talked in previous interviews about the fact that you're able to play so well to those strengths in the jungle, though. So I think you got to give your props for that. The thing is, based on that performance in the regular season, you and EG, you earned that #1 spot. You earned that week of a bye. So you had that time before playoffs came rolling around. What did you do during that week? And what is the importance of earning that?
I don't know if it's important to earn that, because honestly, it doesn't feel that good, because you just watch the other teams compete while you just practice. And I don't really like the practice, because I think practice doesn't really feel the same as official games, because you get way more like experience, way more thoughts after the games, after official games, because in scrims the games are not always very productive. So I'm not like the biggest fan of the bye week, but we got it, and I guess we're trying to focus on what we're doing good during regular split to do it well in playoffs.
That's fair. You've gotten to see a lot of teams in action in their best of 5s going throughout playoffs. In fact, you've seen some play from TSM, who you are facing next. For those of the EG fans that are looking for a sweep and looking for EG domination, what are they looking out for in your matchup?
I mean, I've seen TSM play, and they changed their playstyle a lot comparing to their regular season, because right now they play very strong mid jungles, and I think they realized that their mid jungle are the best players on their team, so they know they need to play well around it and draft well around it in order to win games. So I think we'll try to not give them the best champions possible around mid jungle. So I think me and Jojo can easily match them, and after that I think we will just outclass them on the other roles, and we should be better as a team. So I see that TSM is like similar team to us, but I think they're just worse overall.
So some props to your opponent, Spica, on the TSM side in recent performances?
Yeah, I think he's been playing pretty well, especially on the engage champs. He's like not scared to go in and engage the fight for his team. So it's a good thing to have, but sometimes you might int a lot by engaging fights. So we'll see how he does today.
Yeah, we'll have to find out by watching the match itself. Congrats again on earning this honor once more, Inspired, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Back from our waiting room.
Thank you so much, the Tigress. Inspired, calling out mid-jungle duo for TSM as best 2 players on the team, and kind of the duo that he's looking at as being maybe the difference makers and the people that he's going to have to take to task. to ultimately take the series. Quick verbal note to those of you at home, small delay on stage. We're being told we're targeting about a 1:15 PT start time now for the game. We'll keep you apprised if anything changes. Until that time, we'll continue breaking down the matchup.
I was very disappointed in one thing in that interview with Inspired.
It's gonna be a full answer. Don't play into it.
I'm playing into it.
Because I know you.
Why are you looking at
Danger.
me?
How many years have I worked with you?
Was it because he was holding 2 of the trophies?
Yes.
And Gabby had the 3rd trophy.
Yeah.
Like, he needed to be holding all of the trophies.
Yeah.
No one has ever had 3 Player of the Weeks in the same split.
It's true.
Just make him hold all of the trophies.
True. That would be good content.
Would have been good. Missed opportunity.
Or make him juggle them.
Or just like 2 in one hand, one has to balance and he just can't move during the
Maybe
interview.
if they make it to finals weekend, he can do his stage entrance, just bringing off his statues.
true.
You know,
when
like,
he wins MVP,
Right,
I want him to have all of his probably the
And
spring
the
split
MVP.
title
Oh my
and the MVP,
God.
maybe both championships
like
because I
it.
think they're coming through the losers
Okay.
bracket.
I'm going to say the interesting thing I thought.
Oh, sorry. Do you have like a
interview.
real point to make? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Are you
Go ahead.
validating
I
his
do
point?
love that point though, just because it reminds me of going out to eat and you know how waiters balance everything.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I never know how they do that.
That's
'cause
a jungler's life. He
I'm-
has to balance
I'm
all the layers.
clumsy as anything. I trip over nothing on the set.
Facts.
It happened last week.
Video evidence of that.
One thing I thought was super interesting from that actually was that he called out the mid-jungle duo specifically. I think part of it is that obviously Spica and Maple have been the bright spots on this team sometimes even when they were struggling, even when they were going through roster changes throughout the split, et cetera, et cetera. But the other thing is that mid-jungle was so massive in their prior series, right? Because Blabber was constantly trying to keep JoJo down even when JoJo was able to get the push. So it's really interesting that Inspired targeted Maple and Spica specifically in his interview as something really important to TSM. So I'm really curious now to see that mid-jungle matchup.
Yeah, his Vi wasn't his best game. 0 and 10, definitely needed to get off of that one. But overall, yes, Spica has had such an amazing, split. His series was strong past that game, and overall, I think that we might see, very similar to what Inspired is saying, just them consistently playing through mid-jungle and challenging JoJo and Inspired.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think Spica has is a short memory when it's necessary.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else would go 0-10 on Vi and then in game 5 be like, yeah, Vi looks good here.
Yep.
And that was Spica, and he was able to bounce back. So
Yeah.
we think Inspired is going to be winning MVP. We're not sure because the results haven't been announced.
Yes.
Right.
Spica did win MVP a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he can still get back to that level occasionally. And if TSM has any chance in this series, I think so much of it does have to come through mid-jungle and shutting down Inspired. I think that's, as Emily pointed out, something Blabber did to Inspired. Spica needs to do the same.
But Jat, if Spica has taken a page out of Ted Lasso's Be a Goldfish book,
Okay.
does he even remember
going?
that he was an MVP last year?
Good question.
Right? He can't remember the 0-10 bye game from five games ago.
James, how old are you?
31.
Oh, snap, you're close to me. I was just wondering, because I've never heard of that game. Or book,
Ted Lasso?
That book.
You've never heard of the show Ted Lasso, which
that's
is
a
a
show.
very famous. How old are you?
There's multiple rings
I know
at Lord
of
of the
the show,
Rings.
but I have no idea what.
So in sports, the idea is when you lose a game,
Yeah, let's.
right? Be a goldfish. Goldfish have very short memories, right?
Oh,
So
I
just
got it.
forget.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
move
I've heard
on,
about the goldfish
right?
point.
Anyway, thankfully.
Theoretically.
You know,
Joke didn't land.
goldfish
That's
can
fine.
also get huge. They
Guess I
live
wasn't-
so
Yes,
long.
if you don't put anything else in their tank, they just get massive.
I wasn't aware of my
True.
audience, clearly.
Another thing I will say, a point towards TSM and Spica in general, is that also when they were struggling, they did realize that if they picked pushing lanes that he could play around, either to counter jungle or to affect those lanes, especially mid, I thought it was a really good look for them. And even when they ended up losing those games, it was a good piece. So again, that also ties into what Inspired said. And additionally, how C9 brought down EG was to make sure that even when JoJo actually was able to get push, they were paying attention to where Inspired was, and they were, like Blabber had some really good wraparound ganks to kill him.
Thank God for Emily, right? Always bringing us back to.
Keep us on track.
I mean, I also wanted to throw out the goldfish point because the fact that if you don't put anything else in their tank and they just grow massive, I think that's very hilarious.
I'm petitioning now for. I know we have
never
LCS.
seen like an 85.
my friend did it where like.
So here's what I'm going to petition for.
Died.
I know we have LCS Pigeon as a mascot. I would like to petition for an LCS Analyst Desk Goldfish.
Oh,
and we get a big old tank.
Yeah.
And let's just see.
Oh,
over the course of the future of the LCS, how big will that goldfish get?
And he can be such a good ambassador for NA at Worlds. Because you won't remember the past.
Be a goldfish.
He's always positive.
I like that.
Amazing.
Look, we made it make sense.
This is
in the end, we made it make sense.
Winners.
All right. We're going, while we continue to ready up for the series, we're celebrating LCS history with the top 10 LCS caster calls of all time. Check it out.
The LCS's biggest moments wouldn't be the same without the roar of the crowd and the call that goes with it. This is LCS Top 10 Caster Calls. In 10th, Rivington is just saying the same thing we're all thinking in this historic LCS broadcast moment.
Do they see Robert? They got access towards the end of the game. This is going to be a through the front door base race. They are trying to get this down. Robert going for the shots. He's got a black seal to stay alive. He still has no summoners, actually. Viewmark, holy shit, they win the game by going in through the front door. Complexity takes down Curse.
At number 9, they're all letting us know how many teleports CLG just used on Piglet.
He can do some big damage. Eyes on him in these fights for sure.
And Piglet is definitely in hypercarry mode right now, but Darshan wants to kill him. That's a little ambitious. Oh, the double TP! It's two of them, the double TP!
He only thought it was one. He had to have only thought it was one TP.
In 8th, it's the iconic Captain Flowers call that marked Team Liquid's historic LCS championship.
Licorice still stands, but everyone else has fallen. A triple kill for Jensen, and Cloud9 are on to the Nexus turrets. They are the only team to lift the trophy back to back to back to back, and they are the best team North America has ever produced.
In 7th, Riv is back with his classic call covering Turtle's trophy-winning Quadra.
Turtle on the triple, Turtle on the quadra, Meteos on the outside, a second quadra in the playoffs for Turtle. And even with the kills, even because the fight was so close to Cloud9's base, this could be the end of the series.
This could be it. Team Solo Mid looking to dethrone Cloud9 as the North American champion.
In 6th, it's a masterclass of pacing from Freak in this heart-wrenching Sven moment.
So far, TSM has outmaneuvered. Sven! No quick silver sash. He is down. He is shut down. What is he doing? The Baron.
At number 5, it's the first appearance of the Faith Age as Kobe preaches to the CLG chorus.
He's still gonna tag. He's trying to reset. He's going in for the reset. Yellow Star got another one. He's going for 3. Stixay. They can go in. Stada. Smithy's popping up from his GA. Svenskera's gonna try and stop him, but he's the only one. He's gonna go down. That's it. The ace for CLG. The cleanup from Stixay. And CLG proved you can change the players, but the faith remains.
Sliding into number 4 is a group effort from Freak, Jat, and Azael to hammer home this signature double lift turnaround.
They've got Bjergsen, and they shut him down with a 1600 damage sprint. Double flow. Meteos, another knockup, trades his life, but it does. Double lift. Gets the GA. Double killing them all. Kills everybody. They've got 3. Impact goes down. An ace for TSM. Double lift turns around the fight. Staying alive. So much patience. Bides his time, and he takes over.
At number 3, Kobe is back with an honest golden oldie.
Okay, here comes the TP though. Dominate force to jump away.
Oh
Slow
man, that
GG.
TP sucked.
Yeah, it's gonna give a free turret there to Quas in the top lane.
In 2nd, it's the unstoppable Flowers with some perfect casting execution.
And here comes your janitor, baby! Mop and bucket at the ready. It's Bjergsen on cleanup duty. Svenskera's gonna be taken low. Sneaky's gonna be taken down. Zayzel drops next. Svenskera with the flash away. But Bjergsen is spinning that come all the way around. TSM will find their fight.
And at number 1, CLG faithful never forget this sermon from Kobe himself.
The double kill, the triple kill now coming in for Pobelter. Double is gonna clean one up. 40 seconds on the clock, boys.
And the faithful shall be rewarded. CLG take the inhibitor. They're gonna take the Nexus turrets, and they're gonna take a trip to Worlds.
That's it for this edition of LCS Top 10. Here's to the next great calls.
Some pretty incredible calls over the 10 years of history that the LCS has had. Of those 10, is that like...
Well, we were doing our own ranking.
We were ranking as we went. For me, it's actually You Can Change the Players if Faith Remains is, I think, the best call of all time. And I think that was number 5 on the list. It would be number 1 for me.
It's so hard to separate, like, the caster craft of the call versus the moment itself enhancing your memory.
Yeah.
We have a weird perspective.
That's a really hard list to make.
I think Pastry, by the way, Pastry, who's been taking like the lead on a lot of this, I think he's doing an incredible job. I don't envy the position of having to actually finalize that list.
No way number 2 is correct. I will move that way back.
Yeah, we kind of all agree.
It was super clever.
It was a very clever call.
I'll take the back-to-back from Flowers. Move that to 2. I'll swap the 2 Flowers.
Yeah, I like that call. I like that call. Also, double TP, man, that... Again,
but again, it's such a good moment.
It's a good moment.
No, I'm saying that one I think actually is so incredible because it just captures the honest reaction. Not a single person thought that 2 TPs were happening. So what was said by you and Zyrene in that moment is what every single person in that arena was thinking.
It's crazy. I did a teamfight breakdown on that. It's so hard to tell 1 versus 2 TPs. It gets like slightly bright.
Yes.
That's like all that happens.
It was wild. Some incredible moments. What a trip down memory lane, and we're looking to create some more memories here today. Back into our discussion.
You know what's going to do it?
What?
The bot lanes.
There you go. Let's talk about him then. Tactical is the starter today for TSM. He's up against Danny. Quick look at their stats head-to-head all time. They've played 6 times. Obviously, Danny on slightly better team getting the better of him. But let's talk, Jap, because this was the swap TSM made midway through the series in order to get to this point.
Yes, it was. Tactical came in a big way for the final 3 games of the FlyQuest series. I was surprised these guys actually haven't played against each other more.
Yeah.
It's been a year and a half of LCS, twice when Tactical was on Team Liquid, 4 times when he was on TSM, that he's played against Danny. Never met him in lock-in, never met him in the playoffs. So it actually, to me, feels like a bigger rivalry than what we've seen on stage. Tactical puts up pretty good numbers with DPM, laning stats. I think the biggest knock against him are the whoopsie moments that he has in game where he's playing over-aggressive. If he avoids those, he's just a much different player than Danny because Danny plays so conservatively and then is so reliably a pop-off player in teamfights. Really fascinated to see this matchup.
Yeah, and people forget how young and new Tactical is as a player. Like, he only kind of came in fairly recently when he came in, of course, with Double If leaving Team Liquid and him being able to join that team like that. His entrance there was a big deal, and he became a big playmaker and an aggressive duo with Core JJ. And so him moving to TSM was supposed to be that next chapter. Obviously, there were like hiccups there, but it was nice to see him pick that back up when he came back later on in that series with an amazing carry performance on that Xayah in the 5th game.
Yeah, and we have some kind of old school highlights because this is Tactical's 5th split in the LCS. It's Danny's 3rd split, and they both had some really big moments. Interesting parallels. So, like, Danny has perhaps the greatest play in LCS history with the Jinx Penta, but Tactical has also had some incredible moments. So he had this game where he did 70% of the team's damage, which is an LCS record all time, but he also had, before the Danny like Trist fake Penta play in Danny's playoffs, Tactical had an incredible Kalista quadra kill moment against FlyQuest. So both of them have had some very huge clutch moments in playoffs.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is going to be, we've talked about how both of these teams, especially now that Tactical is starting for TSM, both of these teams are going to play around their bot lanes, right? They even said they brought Tactical in specifically for champions like this, the Kalista, right? Like lane dominant 2v2s in the bot lane to give them more flexibility. He played Draven. You know what? It didn't work out. We go next. He still performed. This is like on Kalista, which is another champion that they could lock in today. And it's just insane. It's like, I feel like people, speaking of goldfish memory, I feel like people have such a short memory with Tactical, right? Because he did like blast onto the scene and perform really, really well.
And I think people also, I agree with you, I think people also want to give, or don't want to give him as much credit maybe as he deserves because of the fact that he got to play alongside Core JJ, right? And I feel like that always robs him a little bit of maybe some of the credit that he deserves. That 70% damage share game was nuts. I think the Kalista play is more impressive, and I'm curious if he's able to warp the series today with those early picks like Kalista and Draven. There's
this Danny Penta, unofficial Penta. The craziest parallel between this Trist play and the Kalista play from Tactical, they both then went on to lose Game 5.
No.
They just saved the series moment, down 1-2, and then they both lost Game 5.
You hate to see it.
It's the kind of Jack stat I hate. This
well,
was what an outplay this was, though, and the confidence to do this as a young player again. Because remember, this was not this was last
rookie split.
year. It's rookie split.
Yeah, and it just kind of enforces the idea that both of these players throughout their history, and this is beautiful, the historic moment, the Barons, the old pentakill on Jinx that he was able to have in finals weekend versus Team Liquid, that really turned the series. But like both of these players have had such amazing moments that 1v9'd for their team. And it's important to recognize that when going into this series and looking ahead, because A, it's the AD carry meta, where AD carries have defined each series because of A, broken picks, but also, teams recognizing that they need to play around them. And if you have tools like these, much like C9 winning off the back of Berserker, these two teams can do it off the back of their star AD carries, that can really change the momentum for, evil geniuses that are first seed, but obviously fell down to the lower bracket and have to make that run again. Or TSM, that's 7th seed, but hey, if they're in different italics or font, they could be seen as first seed. But no, the main point. We gotta make that stretch to make him feel competitive.
7 the right way.
Hey, you gotta, exactly. Anyways, main point being that he could have a definitive series on picks like the Jinx, Zeri, or Sivir that can win it for TSM and can change the minds of many.
I'm actually super curious now that Hans has played Jinx to see if, with both of these being Jinx players, if they're kind of like, maybe it's an option in the series depending on pick bans. I think the most interesting thing though is Tactical was brought in specifically, and they said this, like, to be able to play those lane dominant carries, right? Like, we know he's a good Kalista player. He came in on the Draven. It was not a good time for TSM, but they recovered. And then on the flip side, I think both of these teams know how to play around them as hyper carries as well, right? Like, we know that EG can do that, and then we've seen it with this TSM team, not this exact TSM team, but in that game where Tactical set a record from 70% of the damage for his team.
Wild.
Absolutely nuts. We'll see what he can put up today against a very, very scary Evil Geniuses if they are having their day and are playing in their best form. Time to take a look at predictions.
Who's going to be that one
seed
who's going to be the believer?
7 seed, so I think we all have an idea of where it'll go, but considering EG's last performance, are there any TSM? We got one. Kitty Cinderella believes.
I mean, that's going to make a great YouTube thumbnail if it happens.
True.
I know
she's taking a page out of the Jat playbook, exactly.
We're the only one. So, thinking about the way we've discussed this matchup, we've had a lot of TSM hopium, right? Because, like, we're saying, hey, maybe Tactical can beat Danny in lane. Maybe Spica MVP can come back. But, like, I really do feel like I'm willing to heel turn and say EG should smash them.
I was going to say, you say we have a lot of hopium, and then I look over there and I'm like, most of those are 3-0s and a couple 3-1s.
We've had so many 5-game series.
Yes.
And closing teams out has been particularly hard kind of around the world. So, but just for like the sake of EG's year, I actually do hope, I'm sorry TSM fans, but I really hope EG stomps them down today to give them confidence moving through.
This LCS playoffs has been full of surprises. We'll see if the universe has another one in store for us today. That's going to be it for the waiting room. The teams are just about ready to dive into Champions Select, so we're throwing you out to the arena to get the day underway.
Is over. Cloud9 take down the defending LCS champions.
I think we have to do the lower bracket run again. I mean, I'm just really competitive, so I just like the feeling of winning. And obviously it just feels good to win. I mean, it sucks to lose.
Pillar's gonna be up there. Danny safe in the side. Charm. Sidestep flashed away, but Fudge is the target. Staying alive for now. Redemption gets the health bars back up. Berserker. We got a series on our hands. Evil Geniuses win game 3.
I mean, it's really underdog. To me, it's just like we're biting at ankles right now. We're just trying to see who we can take down.
After getting on the battle dance and the rest of the team, but he had 2 casts from it, so he can create even more distance. Double knock-up onto multiple members of FlyQuest, and one of them was Johnson. He even got exhausted before he goes down. TSM, they pull out big in the fight.
I think a lot of teams are kind of looking at us as a weaker squad, but I think that, you know, the teams that are losing and coming down to you, they already are losing. They're a little upset, a little tilted.
I mean, I'm not surprised they beat FlyQuest, but we can't underestimate them. We're better than them, but they can still show up.
I think pressure's off us, it's kind of all on them, and I think that's kind of our advantage.
Welcome back to the LCS, everybody. It's playoffs, and we've got another best of 5 coming your way. I'm Captain Flowers, joined today by Mr. Azael and Mr. Mark Zimmerman himself. Gentlemen, are we ready for what, as you saw, a lot of people are predicting to be a potentially one-sided encounter here?
Yeah, but we've been wrong about that basically every single playoff series.
Yeah.
We've only had 2 4-game playoff series. Every other one has gone 5 games. We've had upsets. We've had very near upsets as well, so you can't count TSM out.
And hey, one of those 4-game series was the upset where EG lost. You know that's got to be burning in their brain.
Yeah, I think they want, you heard Jet talking about it, to go take down TSM, be the first 3-0 of North America's playoffs so far, and kind of establish that dominance that they had in the regular season. For TSM, I loved Solo's little interview about how they want to be the little dog at your heels, yipping at you, little annoying chihuahua coming at you, and just pester them. You saw the difference in attitude in that interview, that TSM does feel kind of weightless in how they're approaching this series. There's no pressure on them.
All right, well, the bans are out of the way. It's Kalista, Sivir, Vi, Zeri, Sylas, and Seraphine all banned away. So not only the top 2 AD carries that are getting played all the time, but one of those aggressive options that counters them as well. The marksman pool getting hit pretty hard at the start as EG first picks Trundle and TSM responds with Azir and Wukong.
It is interesting because since they're taking that approach of banning out the marksman, it does mean Lulu, Yuumi, both available, these high priority enchanters. So I'm curious to see if EG is going to grab them up because Wukong Yuumi is a really, really strong pairing. If they were willing to go that way. We did see EG play Ezreal Yuumi as well in their last series, so there are different pairings that teams can go towards.
It's just interesting as well to see the Trundle first pick, not something you see a ton of. Wukong is much higher presence globally on the current patch, so that kind of being taken away right out the gate, especially, by ban and whatnot, is a surprise.
I think this is a nod to what they're expecting from Solo. I think they're going to be expecting Solo to play tank top, and if you are, then it really raises the priority of the Trundle, so by grabbing it early here, I think it's a pretty solid matchup into most jungle matchups, and you're kind of weakening the picks that Solo might want to be going towards, like a blind Ornn.
You also have, with the 2 later game scaling hyper carries of the meta banned out in Sivir and Zeri, that's some of the late game punching potential to get through big frontline gone off the table. So if Tactical, who is a player who does play those more aggressive picks, like the Kalista, it makes them have to get an even bigger lead because in mid to late game, getting through a Trundle, and if they also go Ornn or a Sejuani top or anything like that's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he goes Ornn, he's already been pre-counterpicked by the Aatrox and the Trundle, right? So it's like the value of the Ornn is still there, but they already have the 2 picks you would want into this, right? And this is one of the things that actually used to happen to Impact a lot in the past when GP was really, really strong. People would blind GP against Impact when he was on TL, and he would just pick tanks into it anyway. And they're kind of setting up that type of a situation here against TSM, who is going to be going for very heavy scaling. You've already got the Ornn, you've already got the Azir. Wukong as well is one of those more scaling style junglers. So TSM looking to build a late game comp.
And the second half of the draft, I think, is going to be very interesting here because both sides still need to pick AD carry and support. Yes, TSM gets the first one of whichever those they want, but it'll be EG that gets to pick both of their elements first.
It's also interesting because that is not the case in the meta. You go first pick, AD carry, almost every single game, and then you usually slam your support with it. And the fact that with all these AD carry bans coming in, there's a heavier emphasis on what your counter pick's going to be because you don't have the generic strength that you sometimes see these other ones come through. And this is one of the big criticisms people had about EG in that series after they lost was potential champion pool problems with Danny.
Exactly. That's what I was going to bring up is will this pinch Danny at all, right? You know, is it going to be some sort of an issue there? I mean, I don't think so personally because I know that he does still have a number of picks that aren't going to be banned out. And we have seen him bring out Kalista once so far this split, so it'd be interesting. You know, he does have, I think, more depth than people necessarily give him credit for.
And I mean, hey, that's one of the reasons why EG would be more comfortable banning away Kalista in the first half, banning away Lucian as the only non-support ban in the second half of the bans here. These aggressive marksmen that Danny does not typically play, they've removed them from the table. TSM locks in the Xayah for tactical.
More of a teamfight-oriented pick. It does have some strength in lane phase, especially if we end up seeing the Rakan come in, which is one of Chime's best champions still available here and a pretty strong bot lane pairing. And it will give them team fighting in the mid to late game because obviously with Ornn and Azir, you are much more indexed into that kind of mid to late game team.
And the key thing here for TSM is that they blinded their solos, or they early rounded their solos here so that they can actually have support pick on 5, right? So they are going to be picking very likely for the 2v2. You know, the Xayah not necessarily, you know, known for lane dominance, but if you do have the support advantage in that last pick, you can pick for a winning 2v2, give you a lane to attack, because Azir and Ornn are much more about just scaling, chilling out, and Spica does need an avenue of attack here. I don't think TSM is going to want to play completely slow and reserved.
Yeah, and as well as the fact that we see potentially the Rakan takeaway. Chime won player of the series in that upset over FlyQuest because he can be such a good playmaker. So giving him 5th pick makes a lot of sense when he has things like the Bard that he can bust out. And there you see, yeah, the takeaway by the Rakan, not wanting to give that powerful duo over.
And I really love the fact that they picked something not just to deny the Rakan from the Xayah, but this EG squad needed some engage. Trundle's not hard engage. Ahri can be picked. Aatrox isn't hard engage. For a squad like EG that likes to scrap, you need to have that trigger pull.
I actually love the Janna here. You know, yes, there was a bit of a denial. Janna's super good into Rakan, super good into Trundle, super good into Aatrox. You do have some really, really strong denial. It's very easy as Rakan is going with the W, just tap your R, knock him back, deny that. Same things with these kind of binary champions like Trundle, like Aatrox. If you knock them back with the Tornado, knock them back with the ulti, especially, I'm expecting him to go Glacial Augment against them. It can be very difficult to actually fight through that. So it does put a lot of pressure on Vulcan to make sure he's perfectly on point with those engages, that jojopyun is able to get into that backline as well. Because if they're not coordinated and can't get into the backline to find these assassinations, Xayah is already a tough dive target. You're fighting through Ornn, through Azir, through Janna. There's so much peel and so much 5v5 power here in what TSM has drafted.
And that's exactly what people were criticizing EG for last series, was their inability to find good team fights. And so this comp is already putting the pressure on them to show that they've made that improvement over the course of this week that they had off.
EG is going to need to find it early. They're going to need to find it often when you're up against much higher damage potential threats in the AD carry and mid lane roles. When that top lane tank is going to be scaling, I see that clock over EG's head, and it is already ticking as we're just now getting ready to load into the game. I'm excited for this. Everybody's looking at EG, looking at them to stomp this series, show that the Cloud9 thing, yeah, that happened, but they're ready to bounce back. But TSM, man, TSM would love to upset some fans right now.
Absolutely would.
I have to see if they can, because I mean, we were talking about this a little bit off camera about how much experience there secretly is on TSM. These two teams cumulatively have the same number of Worlds appearances. So this is not just some young upstart TSM roster that I think a lot of people associate with them being kind of more developmental towards the middle of the season. Bringing Tactical back in, finding Solo to put in the top lane has actually given them the same number as EG, who has a lot of veterans that people can identify.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only person on TSM who hasn't been to Worlds who is Chime. Obviously, Jojo and Danny not yet been to Worlds. They've had very, very brief careers. Obviously, brand new to the scene. So it does make sense. Maple with a tremendous amount of experience, Impact with a tremendous amount of experience, and then kind of a smattering of appearances there from the rest of the members.
Quick update for everybody. We are having a couple of issues loading into the game. Hopefully we'll be able to resolve those ASAP and jump into our first match here with EG and TSM. EG, man, you know they have got to be hungry to come out here with this comp that does have early opportunities, that is able to get online a little bit faster and try to just slam TSM in the opening game, right? Try to find one of those absolute slam dunks of a victory to make the whole series feel like it's got the tone set right there.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to have to, you know, not only just kind of with the energy that they're trying to bring to this series, but also compositionally, you have to be aggressive. Obviously, TSM, I think if it comes to 5v5, if it comes to front to back, I think it'll be incredibly difficult for EG's comp to really match up against what TSM has drafted. But I'm sure EG is looking at this and just saying, who cares? Let's slam them in lane, right? Let's really create those advantages and try to make sure that if we do come to that point of the game, it's not on even keel.
And the person that I've got my eyes on most for that, honestly, is Vulcan. Here on the Rakan, you're on a roaming champion that can be a playmaker. You're on something that can set up picks, set up engages, and your AD carries Ezreal. If there was ever an AD carry to sit underneath his turret and farm with spells safely, I feel like Ezreal would be that pick. So I want to see Danny underneath this turret, farm up, do whatever, sure, who cares? Unleash Vulcan, get him roaming around, set up some plays, set up this Aatrox to be able to get some kills, set up this Ahri to get some picks, and make it so the whole team's ready to move as a unit once those bigger fights start happening in the mid-game.
And I think that's going to put pressure on Spica on the other side to be the one who's able to answer these plays and to be able to mitigate loss. You know, Mark and I were looking through a lot of stats prior to the series, and Spica has the highest KP of any jungler, both in the regular season and in playoffs. And it's because largely TSM doesn't do anything without him. They don't create their own advantages. Exactly. If wherever Spica goes is where the plays are going to happen for TSM. So it really is on him to be able to create action. It's really on him to be able to answer the plays that Inspired is making as well. You know, when I think back to how EG actually lost to Cloud9, a lot of it was the incredible performance that Blabber had in a number of these games, being able to answer, you know, particularly in the Wukong game, being able to counter gank Inspired time after time after time, you know, and really finding these plays to stymie Inspired, who has been the best jungler in the league this year. It's obviously a lot to ask here from Spica, but I do think, you know, he is equal to that task when he's playing at his best. So we're going to have to find out if that's going to be him today.
I mean, we were listening to the desk before the game started about, you know, Inspired having his 3 Player of the Week statues. People are expecting him to be a favorite here to get MVP. Spica being an MVP of the past, like these two going head to head, if they're both playing at their apex, that's going to be an intense matchup.
Definitely. And it was not the case in the C9 matchup for EG that you saw that kind of MVP level out of Inspired. The whole team was struggling to find their footing in the game. Impact was getting taken advantage of in the top side by Fudge. There were a lot of kills in the mid lane. jojopyun was targeted early with his aggressive laning that he does have a tendency for, and Blabber was able to make him pay for that a number of times in the series. So everyone wanted a little bit more out of almost every single member out of EG. Watching C9 get that 3-1 was shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we have seen, I think, how much better TSM has looked with Tactical back, right? You know, he's much more aggressive. When you're comparing him with how they look, you know, without him, it's very night and day.
The fact that TSM went 3-4 with Instinct, going for more of a developmental approach towards the middle of the season, was pretty impressive. That was once Solo joined, and they officially went 3-4 with him. Now with Tactical back in, who is by most people's metrics a stronger laner, Instinct was lower down in like 4%. Goal difference and whatnot. And so bringing Tactical in can give you another threat. You saw the desk talking about those insane highlight pop-off plays that he can't have in the mid to late game as well. It's just about the kind of oopsies, as Jack called them, that you're concerned about. But that does speak to how much better this TSM can potentially be from what we had seen in the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the biggest thing that stood out to me as far as like statistically the difference between Instinct and Tactical was the forward percentage. Because Tactical, you know, was first as far as forward percentage, and Instinct was 12th, I believe, right? Yeah. You know, it was literally double the forward percentage. You know, how much more aggressive they're playing in this 2v2, and it wasn't due to jungle proximity either. You know, Tactical was actually getting less help from the jungle, about half as much time from Spica spent down there, but still, you know, playing forward across on the other team side more than twice as often. So it is one of those things I think that really is indicating that they are holding up better in the 2v2 and that they are able to kind of create some pressure on their own, which TSM needs because they need to be able to have some sort of lane advantages when you're going up against a team like EG.
Tactical's just a natural-born Chad, man. People have always talked about Tactical as being a confidence player. We have seen a lot of variance across Tactical's performances. His lows are very low, but his highs are incredibly high. And especially after coming in when their backs are against the wall and it's like, oh man, this could be a little bit wild. Just to get him here, replacing Instinct in that series, coming in, getting it done, that's a confidence booster right there. If nothing else could set you on the right track, that ought to have him on the right track. And I hope he's in the zone. I hope he's dialed in. I hope he did his meditation and whatever else this morning, and he got his workout in. I hope he's just chomping at the bit, man. I want to see unleashed tactical.
The funniest thing was, too, when he actually subbed in, his first game, he kind of inted. He did not have a great first game back, I believe, in that TSM series, and then continued to play well. So it was really funny to see. It was not like this jump start, he gets tossed in, and then he's like smurfing on FlyQuest. It was, oh, uh-oh. And then that didn't get into his head. And the fact that he is such a confidence-driven player, like you're talking about, that he still had the recovery from that position actually speaks very, very well for the chances. We are in Champs League. I see champions being picked. So hopefully that means we have gameplay on your screen soon, unless we just jinxed it.
Fingers crossed.
Why'd you bring it up, Mark? Why'd you bring it up? You know what you are? You're a caster. You know what we do when we mention stuff? We curse it. We just gotta not talk about it until
the
we're in
Riot
there.
client would never have an issue.
Why are you? I apologize
say that
to everyone watching this program because all your clients are going to crash now.
NA down after down Flowers talks
about the reliability of the League of Legends client.
No.
Sorry, all of NA.
It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get into the game. I have faith. We're counting down. Where do you guys want to see the early focus? Because we're talking about how important it is, especially for Spica, to be able to track Vulcan and Inspired, be able to watch where these guys are going and stop EG from getting that momentum moving. Where do you think EG is going to focus? Where does TSM have to focus in response? What's the story here?
Well, so I think for EG, the Trundle pick doesn't have like the easiest immediate follow-up. So I think you're going to see maybe mid lane where you can land a charm. But even then, you know, you have to kind of get an interrupt on probably Maple's dash back on Azir, because otherwise it's just not going to be enough CC. So there does have to be some level of execution from Inspired making this stuff happen, because a lot of the players do have ways out of these situations.
Yeah, to me it all starts around mid lane, you know, and it's not even necessarily about killing off Maple. It's about getting mid prio, because if you can get mid prio for a JoJo, then there is the potential to get up towards topside where you're expecting Impact to have a winning 1v1 against that Ornn, and maybe look for things like a dive that can really slam home that advantage, and that's when you can really start to expand a big edge over these tank matchups.
All righty, let's do it! Now we're there. Now we're on Summoner's Rift. We didn't curse nothing. It's time. EG and TSM. One team gets to go forward. One team has to go home. I love elimination in playoffs.
Stakes are definitely high right now. You could see the TSM members in their interview feeling a lot lighter, more jovial. JoJo seemed very sad in the interview after the loss, and already we're going to see what they think.
Yep, and Solo knows that EG are hungry for a win here in the lower bracket. Let's check out his thoughts.
Yeah, lower bracket run is definitely hard. A lot of games. I think, though, you know, the teams that are losing and coming down to you, they already are losing. They're a little upset, a little tilted. Us, we're always playing on house money. I mean, no one really expects us to, like, make it out of it. So we can always come in, like, very loose. Whereas they have like all these expectations coming from the upper bracket. If they lose, they're over. And nobody wants to lose the TSM, especially going to the World. So I think pressure's off us. It's kind of all on them, and I think that's kind of our advantage.
That seems to be the edge the TSM may have. They are the only team in the LCS that can't lose to TSM.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think I've seen that a couple times.
TSM's beat themselves a couple times this split, Flowers. You might have been wrong in that one.
Well, that's the reason why I'm not the analyst, gentlemen. That's why I've got the two of you here with me today. Let's see how this game's starting off, as both of our junglers are at their respective red buffs, so should be pathing to different sides, but we're immediately seeing Inspired cross river after clearing just his red, going into the blue side of Spica.
Yeah, you saw Impact move down there and actually get an early ward out to make sure that this path was not going to be contested immediately. Nice little sneak in there as well. No vision by TSM to spot this one out, so they're not going to have any idea this blue is gone, and Spica won't be able to adjust his clear until he sees it.
I mean, just look how many D wards they put on Spica, right? There's literally 4 wards at 2 minutes in his jungle, including a pink ward.
Who's the biggest threat on the enemy team?
Yeah!
That's kind of the answer right there. They ward the hell out of Spica right to start the game.
Exactly, and Inspired actually started only 1 pot, so we could start a pink and put a pink there right off the bat. It's like, very clearly, they're saying, how could we lose? Well, we could lose to Spica, and it's four level 1 wards here, you know, already in there tracking him and looking for the 3 buff.
And I also really like how they do it in a game where they've got Trundle. This is a champion who has some camps that he vastly prefers to others because of his damage being so single target focused. So hey, why not just grab another one of the camps that's just one big dude?
Definitely the case, and as TSM, you know, it's a little bit of a badge of honor, but also a frustration, I'm sure. You get to say, oh, everyone's targeting me. Look what they did. They had to steal my camps, throw out 4 wards.
I'm so popular.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm sure Spica would prefer also to have a little bit more influence in the early game. I will say as well, his job is not necessarily to get a monstrous lead himself or find all these kills. So that is nice for him that there's not a ton of pressure on him to immediately go out and make something happen. They do have that kind of scaling advantage that we touched on.
Yeah, I mean, he's not playing G4 or anything, right? You know, and generally speaking, as long as TSM does perform in 5v5 later on, Spica's job is more to neutralize. It's to make sure that Inspired is not running over the game. It's to make sure that, you know, if EG is looking for these roaming plays, that he can be there to protect Solo on potential dives, to protect his bot lane on potential dives. That's really what they're trying to do here. You can see the wave was stacked, it was pushed in. I don't think they're looking for any sort of a dive on Solo at this point. He's far too healthy, but it is going to be Krugs taken away. You can see on the other side of the map, though, it's the answering play here from Spica. So it has the read that he will be losing his top side camps, just goes down and looking to answer that, and Vulcan just trying to harass as much as he can.
Yeah, same thing for Impact, getting a lot of harassment to the turret and also getting a full wave ahead already. A pretty good position for the Aatrox to be in. We talked about it being a bit of a self-counter pick, taking the Ornn into it. Solo does have a huge preference for these kind of tanks and what we think of as weak side champions, but TSM has actually played around him a fair amount. He had the highest jungle proximity of top laners in the regular season once he subbed in, because he's so good about setting up plays for the team because of these champions.
And an absolute monster CSD as well. His CSD at 15 in the regular season was nearly 14, and in playoffs it's been over 20 here. Does Spica have his clone back? He very likely does, so I don't think Inspired's going to commit to anything too much here.
Chicken fight!
We'll take at least one away.
They're both just seeing who can whack more chickens with their giant club.
It's like a all-you-can-eat buffet. Who can get more chickens?
Yeah. You just got your fork in the bowl trying to get as much as you can, but Spica will get the biggest chicken, and that's what matters.
It's basically my family growing up. You know, some good food gets put in the fridge. It's going to be gone in an hour. You got to eat as fast as you can.
A race to the bottom of the bowl, and Spica ends up being the one taking most of the money there, although Inspired does get a little bit. You're going to see your junglers, or at least Inspired, making his way back, picking up the Sheen first of all, gives him a nice little bit of extra clear too. But Spica is not going back just yet. He did stop up here in the top side just to make sure nothing bad was going to happen to Solo as he got this wave pushed up, but things seem to be going all right for him up here. 31 to 41, down a bit of CS, but that's what you would expect early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to be seeing Inspired, you know, go in towards Divine Sunder. Generally, people like this when they are going up against tanks because that is their tankiness, and Solo pretty far up here, definitely going to be in trouble.
Solo gets hit by the Q3. There's the pillar. He flashes on the other side of it. They're going to look to slow him down. I think the chain hit the minion.
It did.
It hit the minion. The chain hits a minion, and Solo walks away. Tactical at 200 HP here in the bottom lane. Chime throws out the tornado. Evil Genius is definitely in control in the 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, EG there, you know, up on the top side. Spica, was he spotted? He should have been spotted.
Oh, Danny. He's going to get jumped on here by the Wukong if they're not careful. Spica's still just waiting in that brush. Danny shifts forward.
That was actually so close. So I guess they must not have spotted him. Maybe he went straight into the brush and they didn't catch him going over. I wasn't sure if they would have actually had vision, but to me on the top side, it was like a misordering of spells there. They obviously decided to use Pillar to force Flash, then use Chain to get the kill. But I think we saw such an easy angle early on for the Chain. You know, when Impact was already melee range, there was no mini wave there. You should have just used the Chain immediately to actually force the Flash, then Pillar up after, because there's no real ability to outplay that. So I do think it was kind of a misordering of spells.
And hey, sometimes those happen. It's a bit unfortunate for Evil Geniuses that they weren't able to execute on that one, but if you're TSM, you're happy. Solo spends the flash, he gets to walk away. No death, just goes back and shops. Should be just fine here.
Yeah, down a fair amount of CS in that matchup. Kind of knew that was what he was signing up for when he took it. And for TSM, you know, you're a couple hundred gold down off that kind of laning advantage that he's found. That's fine. You know, this is one of these games, you know, this is an interesting start to a series for TSM where they're basically saying, let's see how good EG is, and taking full scaling and putting the pressure on them to make these plays, find opportunities like that and actually convert on them, because if they can't, you would think that TSM's team fighting should take over. And a good check for a team that, you know, you heard Solo talking about coming down off of a loss and trying to recover.
Yeah, absolutely. I like these little things that we see from Solo, and it's one of the reasons that he can actually stay relevant in a lot of these bad matchups, is he actually just pulls the wave there, right? He stacks it so that even if Impact was looking to slow push or pull a freeze or anything, it is going to push towards him, so he doesn't actually have to interact with Impact on that wave whatsoever. He just stacks the wave, so it's going to come to him, and then he just chills at the tower. He has his TP still available. Impact has already used his, so if he can continue to actually collect gold here, wait as long as possible before he goes back, he's going to have an easy TP back to lane, and it's going to be very difficult for Impact to actually shove him out.
And we'll see how long Impact wants to stay pushed up, stay forward here in this lane. Spica is up around the top side, and Evil Geniuses just got done picking up the Drake on the other side of the map just before 8 minutes for a first Drake, so honestly pretty fast if EG wants to also try to use that objective stacking to accelerate the pace of the game.
Absolutely. They're going to try and force TSM into some of these fights before they're sitting on 5 masterwork items or something like that, and the Drake stacking is a huge way to do it, especially given that they don't have like inherent bot lane pressure. There's been times where Chime has left lane. He had a roam mid initially to get some wards down.
Ooh, Maple knocked up into the air there. Vulcan, who does not have an ulti, doesn't have any more follow-up. Inspired's in some trouble. He tries to get away. Spica's got the knock-up. Jojo wants to come in and help, and it's first blood over to TSM's jungler. Impact goes over the wall and makes it 1-for-1. Evil Geniuses still trying to respond to this. Is there anything else to find? There is not. But things get spicy quickly here when the Rift Herald gets aggro.
Yeah, the XP advantage making a really big difference there at the end of the day. Inspired still level 5, Spica was 6. So Inspired did not have the ulti to actually survive that by ulting solo. So they just look for the all-in. They do get the kill. It is traded back, yes, but overall, with First Blood going TSM's way, you're going to be really happy about that. They push them off the Herald, and they get the kill.
And that is a double buff on Impact's Aatrox as well, so he's really loving the outcome.
I mean, so obviously Solo's going to be a little sad having to go against that, but an important part of this is it does stop the play completely by EG. It delays this Rift Herald timing. Not only do you get the first blood to get the gold lead back in your favor, you get some of that gold, I believe it was onto Spica who got the last hit. I can't remember if it was him or Solo, but that does give the gold over to you, and it, again, stops that Rift Herald, so it'll delay the timing before they can get that charge. You can see on your minimap now, finally EG are going to be able to grab that one. Yep.
And I think that's such a good point because it is about pushing the pace of the game for EG, right? So every little play that you can make as TSM that slows this down, that gets you closer to Ornn items, closer to 3-item spikes, for this crit scaling MarkZ in the bot lane, for this, big AP monster in the mid lane, is a good play. So this is great for them.
I feel like in most games of League of Legends, the clock is not a neutral element. It's usually on the side of one team or the other, and this time around, TSM knows it's their buddy. It's working for them. So let's see how EG can continue to move things forward. Inspired does have the Eye of the Herald. We'll have all the way up to the plates falling timer to be able to use that one, try to get some more gold. Do you guys want to see this like dropped in mid just to try to open that up a little bit? Where do we want to go with this Herald?
Honestly, I think all 3 lanes have a reason you can justify in your head for why you want to drop it there.
Danny's in bot lane.
Danny's in bot lane. Would love that for me. Then you also have, obviously, the mid priority that you were talking about. Top side, if you can get ahead enough on the Aatrox matchup, you start having insane side lane pressure for, like, potentially 1-3-1 setups as well. So there is a reason for all of these, depending on what you want to do. I would argue the scaling on Danny might not be the strongest one. I'd rather see it probably in one of the solo laners.
Well, looking at the items there in that bottom lane, it is a strict Gale Force rush for tactical. A lot of times you see AD carries get Berserker Greaves, maybe get some lifesteal early on if they need it, but no, straight into the Gale Force, straight into the Mythic, going for the option that gives him a dash. I really like this on any marksman that doesn't have a dash built into the kit. Gives a lot of outplay opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's already going to be pretty difficult to actually pin down tactical. The only hard engage you really have is Vulcan. You can answer that with the Xayah ultimate. If it is just something like a Trundle pillar poking you in, you can obviously use the Gale Force to dodge out on that. It's the same reason we're also seeing a Swifty Boots rush here for Chime, because slows are going to be the main way that they actually catch him by pillaring him in. And with Glacial Augment plus Swifty Boots, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually close that gap without hard committing something like the Rakan ult to try to get in on you.
And it's also another advantage for bringing tactical in to lane is he's a very aggressive, very strong laner. We were talking about the high 4%. That enables your support to get on the map and try and move around a lot. And already, Janna, what you normally don't think of as that much of a laner unless you're watching Lorlo's stream, all over the map. But that's what Janna's been doing. She's been working with Spica to get vision control, contest these objectives, and just let tactical be 1v1 against the Ezreal.
And I mean, as a result, it's 2 plates bot for tactical, a plate top for Ornn. The gold advantage is completely gone. It's 1K ahead now here for TSM, so a really good first 12 minutes, albeit a slow first 12 minutes here for the TSM side. I mean, Ornn is pretty much even, or at least close enough to even that who cares on gold last I checked, right after he actually did grab that plate. So he's down about 300 gold, but Solo is completely stable in that top lane. Impact is not really creating any sort of a big advantage. So games like this, to me, really come down to the first major team fight. Very likely we're going to see EG go for the next dragon here. And I think this is the kind of game that gets decided very heavily at that third dragon, where EG shows up. They've got to continue pushing the pace, moving towards Soul. And as soon as TSM comes to fight them, if EG don't win that, your time in the game can be over.
Yeah, you can see already Impact making his way down. No teleport available, roaming in.
Okay, Spica jumps back in towards him, has to drop the ulti defensively to reposition himself. TSM was investing a lot into controlling this bottom side river before the Drake spawned. You saw them move into Evil Genius's jungle, steal away the red buff, put down some vision as well. They really wanted to be able to set up here for the second one, and now it looks like Chime and Spica still trying to hang around, but they don't want to go too far forward. Maple's going to shadow them as well, but he has to remove this control ward unless he wants to give Evil Genius his vision of what he's up to. Impact continuing to stay involved. Solo's still top, and Solo has no TP.
This is what I like about what TSM's doing. They're not really contesting, but they're sticking around enough so Impact can't just go top lane back and ignore this dragon. So by just lurking around here by Spica and Chime, they're giving enough of a threat to commit EG's resources while Solo just gets gold in the top lane, but they're actually gonna go.
They are going in for it. The Drake's already on the way of EG, but the fight goes to TSM. One already down, and Spica continues the charge. JoJo's in trouble, but now Spica might be tanking up here on the front. Impact is stuck! Impact is down, and TSM get 2.
4v5, TSM actually pulled the trigger on the contest right after they finish the dragon. They find 2 kills. They have all the pressure mid lane now.
I mean, EG are completely out of sorts. So even dropping the Herald there, that had to be an accident, I think, unless it was about to expire.
Yeah, it was, because they got it right around 10 minutes. They had to drop an absolutely worthless Shelly in their own jungle.
Man.
They get 0 value. They lose first turret. TSM is up 3,000 gold.
EG are a mess. TSM are slapping in this first game. 3K gold advantage with Azir, Ornn, Xayah, Janna. This early on is huge. EG, I think, just weren't even expecting the contest. Vulcan kind of poking forward there, trying to zone him out. Takes a pretty big chunk. The charm is spent, but it's not actually connecting on anyone. And then in comes Maple from the side, catching multiple members there. And Tactical is just ripping through him.
Yeah, I mean, Impact had basically started heading back top lane. I think EG didn't want to keep him around any longer. TSM get the read on that and realize it's just a 4v4, and they have an insane angle for that Azir ult. Being able to instantly find that kill makes it again a 4v4 by the time Impact shows up, and then he's desperate to try and turn that fight around. They just focus him down next.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really well played there by TSM, and honestly, I think I would have been on the EG, same page as EG, where it's like, we just saw Wukong use his ulti, Ornn isn't here, there's no way they even try to contest. They're just gonna give this one for free. And I think that's kind of the mindset that EG was in, because they just did not seem prepared for that fight whatsoever.
Man, such a nice fight by Maple. We were talking about the experience a little bit before the game started that both these teams have. It's actually equal in terms of total number of Worlds appearances. Yep. Maple has 6. Impact is the other one on the other team that has 6, and then from there it's like 2 and 1 for most of the other guys, with a couple not appearing yet. Obviously JoJo and Danny as the younger players, Chime for TSM. And so in terms of like dealing with pressure, TSM is no stranger to that, as well as what it takes to make clutch plays and win games. And right there, Maple just gave them a huge lead.
So let me ask you guys here, because we're talking about TSM scaling advantage. We're talking about how EG needs to get ahead early. We're also now talking about an over 3,000 gold lead 16 minutes in. How dire is this for EG?
I think it's extremely dire. I mean, the scaling, let's be honest, doesn't really matter until like 3 items. I think that's where it's like, oh, time to FF, right? Like if you're way behind and they hit 3 items, it's very, very hard. But they do have playmaking, and they just got to pick now.
Okay, Chime gets picked. Nicely done. Vulcan setting that one up. That's what I was talking about in Champ Select. Vulcan needs to be roaming around making the picks.
And that's something that EG will always have, right? Yep. Is the X factor of Vulcan, JoJo. If you can create pockets of vision that TSM doesn't really control, and they have to face check into there, the only person who can actually face check well is Ornn, right? And if Ornn is pushed up, in a side lane, and he's not with that team. Wukong, it's dangerous to actually face check. It's dangerous on Chime as well. So EG will have their windows, and EG's team fighting is also so good. So, you know, you can never really count them out of a game completely.
That was what gave them their 15-3 record in the regular season, and why people were saying they were so good was they could find fights that didn't seem available, and they would get kills. So that was a nice opportunity there to find a pick-off, kind of off a reset for TSM there. The fact that they drop bot turret as well gives them more room to work with for their comp, because it's not just straight team fighting. They have this extra bit of mobility to move around the map with the Ahri, try and find pick-offs.
And look at the AD carry difference right now. Second completed item coming in for Tactical with the rapid fire cannon. Danny still has an unevolved Manamune, as well as just the pieces for his full Sheen evolution.
I mean, he's 1,600 gold down individually. Like, that is a monster disadvantage down in that bottom lane. You know, Tactical had the push in the 1v1, was getting plates. He's picked up some kills. They've picked up a tower. So, like, he is getting a lot more gold here than Danny.
Man, what an insane turnaround for Tactical, you know? Yeah. He was playing in Academy just a couple weeks ago. Now here he is, being the most fed member of TSM as they try and take down the #1 seeded juggernaut EG, and he's the guy with all the resources that they're playing around. They're giving him a Herald charge now. Like, what an insane comeback for Tactical.
I mean, it's kind of how TSM got wins with him in spring, though, right? When you think about how TSM actually got wins, it was all eggs in the Tactical basket, and it was he was going to 1v9 or they were going to lose, right? And it was kind of like that was their strategy. So it's interesting to see them having that faith, and if they're able to actually stop this soul stacking, I think that's such a big deal, because this next dragon here is spawning in 10 seconds.
And TSM has control over the bottom side. Evil Geniuses sending a teleport into top lane to go after Solo. Impact will be walking up. Jojo's still looking to keep him locked down here. Unstoppable's not going to get him away from a whole lot. Solo still has a flash, but it's a pretty foolish errand to try to use it there. Impact picks up the kill, but that means TSM has control over the Drake. The soul stack stops here.
Soul stacking dead for EG, but I think it's the right call, because you saw with that Rift Herald push around Tactical bot lane, they had no avenue to actually contest that dragon anyway, so instead they TP top, get that kill, and now they're going to look for another angle.
Now they're going in yet again. Chime's going to be found first. Danny needs a little bit more damage to kill him, but Tactical is already down, and it's Jojo picking up the money.
Man, it's just too much there from Tactical. You don't need to be pushing for that tier 2 tower. You're already outscaling. There's no answer of a play top lane. Yes, they killed Solo, but Solo killed the wave. So they weren't going to be able to take that top lane tier 1. So all they can really do is look for a pick on the map, and Tactical kind of serves it up to them. Was even a shutdown there. Uses his ulti. Thankfully, he didn't at least use his summoners, but those are the kind of mistakes that can really cost you.
And I mean, yeah, he wanted to push for the tier 2, get the extra money, but in giving over the shutdown as well as the assist money on that, you're kind of just given the same amount back. Not quite, because it's a tier 2 at least, but still, the game's gold lead has been around this 3,000 point for a while.
So, like you said, the gold lead hasn't fluctuated a ton. It did give some shutdown, get some gold back in their pockets. When you look in terms of actual items, it's now 2-2. For the most part, Ezreal's build is actually relatively accelerated. Doesn't go for a lot of those crit options like you're talking about that often end up more expensive. Right. So they are even-ish. There is still that extra lead with the BF sword in Tactical's pocket, but the question for me is, does EG want to contest in 3 minutes when the dragon spawns again? Because they have to actually stop TSM from continuing to stack and get just free stats.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough, because I don't think they have a comp that you can win through sides, right? Like, you can play side lane as EG and try to get the push and then try to look for collapse and take over enemy jungle and find picks and stuff like that, but Aatrox is not going to split push the game to a victory, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. It's not a Fiora, it's not a Camille. You don't have anywhere near that kind of advantage to actually do that against Solo, who already has 2 completed items, has the Ornn upgrade through. So it is going to come down to team fights at some point.
I mean, to that point, yeah, it's a 3-kill Aatrox, but it's a like 50 gold lead for the Aatrox side. So Impact does not actually have that much leverage over the Ornn in the side lane to just brute force us down.
And we're also now at level 13 for Solo, which means those masterwork items are gonna start coming in. Things are going to start getting even more worrying for the Evil Geniuses. Isaac, you said just a few minutes ago that when you're up against a scaling comp, the point where you start to really get worried, really get concerned, is around 3 items. Yeah. Well, we've hit 2 items on the big players in TSM. Solo's got it, Maple's got it, Tactical's got it. One more item and you're officially in the danger zone.
Absolutely, and I mean, that's kind of, when the multiplication items come through, right? When the IE comes through, potentially when the death cap comes through, and is really kind of amplifying all those stats that you have, and that's when those champions really do start to take over. It is going to come down to execution always, of course, but TSM going to be really, really happy about their position in this game. And I think it's a lot of pressure on EG already. This team obviously has a massive amount of investment into it as well. They are expected to make Worlds. Everyone was looking at them as the runaway favorites to win the summer title, to go to Worlds as the #1 seed here after their improvement from MSI. So it's a lot of pressure on these guys. And if you drop this first game, I think you're really going to be sweating.
First team All-Pro is EG with Someday.
Yep.
Like, that's during regular season, this team was standout. They were so far beyond the rest of the pack, and now in playoffs, I don't know if they flew too close to the sun. I don't know if parts of the ship are falling apart. Theseus's evil geniuses, what has been replaced behind the scenes? What is going on here that is causing this team to feel so different? Because they're definitely struggling.
On the flip side for TSM, they were the ship of Theseus. They were literally rebuilding their roster on the fly, trying new pieces out, trying to find a lineup that seemed to work for them. And they might have done it in playoffs. They took down FlyQuest, which I think was a surprise for a lot of people, even though it was, 6 versus 7. It was a relatively close battle. But just based off regular season, TSM could just not find their footing. And now, here they are, going toe-to-toe in Game 1 against that #1 seed.
Impressive stuff from this org, but they still have to close the game with the lead that they have. Evil Geniuses have 45 seconds until that next Drake spawns. Maple going to be clearing out some of this vision. I love this little ward that you see from Evil Geniuses here on the left side, because it avoids the control wards that are commonly placed in the Baron pit. So it's one of those that frequently just ends up getting missed.
I love that TSM is also not greeting for the Baron. They're working as a 5-man unit often, this big ball to take over an entire side of the map. So there you see them checking, because they do have ways into the pit. Obviously, Wukong can hop the wall, Azir can stand behind and just kind of hit it over or go into the pit. They have some options for sneaking a Baron, so nice check there by Danny. But the bigger point being that TSM has worked as a unit, again, grouping up now as 4-man to get vision control for the upcoming Dragon fight and just smothering EG.
And Spica steals away the red buff even, jumps in there, hits it with the Q. So Inspired won't have that one here for the next fight. TSM have control over the bottom river, they have control over the Drake pit, and Evil Geniuses have no desire to go anywhere near them. So that's gonna be a second Hex Tech Drake going over to TSM. Remember, these are worth 9 attack speed and 9 ability haste each. That's a lot of stats.
I mean, there's just no vision from EG. Like, you're looking in this section, those are TSM wards, these are TSM wards. One ward just got, or 2 wards just got placed cross map for a trade on the Dragon, right? Like, that's what they got, is actually dropping that. And Impact's pushing top, of course, but at the end of the day, it is concerning. Like, I understand they didn't have the setup, as Danny could be in trouble here.
Danny knocked up into the air. Spica looking for a little more, but Inspired is there in time to keep him alive. One thing that I'm also just now noticing that I think is a bit concerning, Danny still does not have that Manamune stacked up to a Muramana. I feel like on Ezreal, normally this item is evolved significantly faster.
Yeah, I mean, he was locked in lane for a very long time, with just a longsword. He didn't do a tier start, so he's on only a longsword in that 1v1 for a very, very long time. He also wasn't playing TP, so he couldn't take an early base to go back for a tier Sheen buy, which is pretty standard. But yeah, I mean, I understand why EG didn't challenge at the Dragon, because they had no setup for it, but it is hard to see when they are going to find that good angle, right? Because the clock is ticking, IE is now done, there's 2 items done on Maple. It doesn't get better for you. The Ornn upgrades are going to be coming through. We're going to see multiple of those coming up.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you also just got both sums off Danny for just your Wukong ult means that when TSM decides it's time to legitimately pressure Baron, not just vision control, but start it and see how EG reacts, it's potentially not going to have sums on your AD carry. And the other thing I wanted to point out quickly, Maple's CS is insane. He was getting up close to 300 just post 25 minutes. He's probably going to clear it on this wave. He had that insane play in the early game as well to kind of jumpstart him. And this Azir, if you don't find a way to blow him up at the start of these fights, it's not just tactical you have to worry about. It's double backline threat.
And TSM is looking at this Baron area now. There's a lot of control wards in their inventory. Tactical tries to go in. Tactical runs it right into him. That's not where he wanted to be, and now TSM's got to back away. EG looks for more, and it's a big engage coming out. Maple's going to be stuck in the middle of everybody as Solo goes back in, trying to keep him alive. Maple gets away, but Solo's tombstone is going to be Trundle's pillar as Impact gets the kill.
I can't believe it just happened here. EG are going to force on Baron, I think. This is their window here. They get a kill on a tactical, a kill on a Solo. I think you start this up and try to look for a turn here. Spica is still alive, but Spica critically has no smite. They, of course, may not have that timer, but we know he doesn't have it for a couple more seconds. It should be up before the Baron goes down.
Baron at 6K. TSM with 3 players alive trying to contest. In 20 seconds, Solo will be alive. He has a TP, but it's going to be secured by Jojo. Spica trying to fight through this. He's going to lose Guardian Angel. He should die for free here, I would expect. Vulcan's timing is beautiful. Maple goes over, gets 1. Maple goes over, gets 2. Maple wants to get 3, but he won't find it. Charm back over onto the Janna. Tactical's here. He's back into the fight, but he's denied by a pillar. Jojo and Inspired need to get the hell away. Jojo hit by the ulti, but he won't be rooted up by the feathers. He keeps on.
He lost vision.
What is going on? There's the shutdown. TSM, they have lost the Baron, but they claim it back from everybody except Inspired.
TSM find 4 kills on the tail end of a big whoopsie, as you heard Jack call Tactical prone to sometimes there. It was him getting picked off in the jungle that started that entire sequence. TSM did, I would say, recover it slightly there. The fact that Maple was able to get so many down in this Rocket Flip the Switch replay.
Yeah, I mean, it's Rocket Flip Switch replay. Tactical, why are you going for this 1v1 here? I mean, it's one of those situations where you don't have eyes on everyone. He just gets hungry for the kill. He says, Danny has no sums. I'm just going to Gale Force on him. And when he shifts back, I'm going to use my ulti. I'm going to kill him off. But instead, he throws away his advantage, goes down on the charm there from Jojo. It's a great punish. And yes, TSM do wipe off a lot of these Baron kills, but this was a 3K lead completely eliminated.
Yeah, I have to give my head tap to Solo there, going in, knowing he's probably going to die to save Maple, coming out of that stopwatch, the fact that he got the knockup, which allowed Maple to get the knock out.
Oh, we're not done. It's time for another battle as the Azir turret is summoned up to protect TSM as they continue pushing. Remember that Inspired is the only Evil Geniuses player who has Baron, so he has to be nearby if they want to enchant these waves.
Definitely the case, and you can see TSM, the gold lead's gone. They still have those scaling advantages. They still have some pressure, but they need to play this out a little bit cleaner.
Inspired will back away. TSM clearing out vision from the enemy jungle, controlling everything. There's 25 seconds until the Drake, so TSM having the priority over moving into that area is very important.
Look at the vision. They have nothing. They're completely choked out, right? They can't see anything. And this will be sole point now that they'd be moving to if TSM grabs this next dragon. EG are trying to threaten the mid push with their Baron to get something out of it. Impact looking for a flank here. Tactical does have no flash, remember.
Impact coming around from the side. Tactical goes up into the air. He dodges away from the charm. Ornn sounded off. Comes back through and finds Danny, but nobody's close enough for any follow-up. Jojo goes over the wall, forcing out a flash there. TSM backing away, but staying together. Now going towards the pit. Evil Genius is still looking for it. There's no Ahri ult. There's no Rakan ult. Those are two of the biggest tools for finding an engage, for finding a pick. Tactical, however, also no ult on the Xayah, but Wukong and Azir just about ready to drop those ultis here as TSM contains everything in this pit. They keep EG away, they secure Soul Point, but the fight could still break out. Impact and everybody else on EG trying to walk away from it. Inspired on the flank, but they aren't going to find much yet. True Shot Barrage hits 3. EG, control over the mid lane, pushing towards the tier 2.
No minion wave, though, to grab that turret after getting mid control, so Spica's going to get around, Tactical's going to get around. They do get the dragon, they lose the mid turret, which brings the gold lead basically to dead even. 3 Drakes to 2. And Baron not on the menu now for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, Baron taken away. But despite the fact that gold looks pretty even, it's an additional Drake worth of stats. And it is now 4 Ornn items that should be through here once he buys time to actually give everyone those upgrades. So the gold is lying to you, and the scaling really is kicked in now, where it's more than 3 items here for Tactical. You know, he's working on his 4th. It's 3 done as well for Maple. Yes, there's no death cap, but still a lot of flat AP in his build with that Shadow Flame. You know, has the Void Staff 3rd. So TSM are in control, and I've got to give them a lot of credit because this isn't just some random game where they found kills, as Maple could be in some trouble here.
Okay, Maple trying to deny this pick here using the ulti, but Jojo still wants him. Minion wave shows up at a good time, but not good enough. That's going to be a pretty important death here for Maple.
Solo's in trouble
Solo has teleported into a spot where he's now isolated behind enemy line. Spica wants to come in and help. Solo, the target, under pressure as Vulcan regroups the rest of the team, having lost half health. Solo lives, but both summoner spells are now down.
Tactical's in trouble.
TSM. Tactical gets bit. Gale Force to get himself away. That active keeps him safe.
Huge flank by Vulcan to initially get onto Maple and set that play up. Maple tried to scoot out of there, but too much chase down potential with the Shirelius, with the ultimate from Ahri. They find that pick off, and EG is clawing tooth and nail back into this game, slowly getting the gold lead in their favor, getting better vision set up. it's been a very hard road. It's not over yet, but somehow feeling like they're getting control over this game.
I mean, they're going to have some opportunities, right? I wouldn't say, you know, they're in control. I still favor TSM's position for sure, especially because, you know, as I was going to jump into before we saw that pick, TSM has done a great job with vision control. Their objective setups have been actually really good. Every time it comes time for Dragon, these last 3 times, you toggle the vision over to EG's side, they've got nothing. They can't see anything. It is so difficult to actually get in there, but they will have their opportunities because Death Cap is done here for Jojo. You know, the 4th item is coming through for Danny, so there is going to be a lot of damage threat if they can actually find these picks and execute on these plays.
Yeah, the fact that Impact is 6-2-1. Jojo, like you said, 3-1-7. They have the threat on the backline should they find these angles. And while TSM's vision control has been really good, anytime it kind of breaks into a scramble situation, it seems to be going EG's way. The last 3 or 4 plays have mostly gone EG's favor, and that's why the goal lead has closed. Because yes, when it is straight up front to back, TSM are going to be the advantage, but they don't always find that setup.
I agree. You know, they're not able to always find that setup, but thankfully for them, they have been every single time around Dragon, and that's the focal point now.
Yep.
You can't give up another soul here. Tactical is in some trouble, but he's just going to turn it around the play.
They're ready to try to go back against EG here. Jojo's ulti's been used. True Shot Barrage on 3. Skill shots being traded back and forth between both sides. Maple summons up the Azir Sun Disc.
Look at Spica.
Spica's looking for the flank. If he can find an opportunity to engage on one of these high-value targets, could go a long way, but Danny finds him first.
Both teams kind of swapping sides here. You see the ultimate out of Chime to just top them off in this standoff situation. They might just stand here for another minute until Dragon spawns.
Yeah, you don't often see the Janna ulti used just as the heal. Normally, it has to have some sort of an impact in the light to disrupt everybody, but EG
are going to start.
Baron.
Yeah, they're going straight to the Baron. They want to pull in because they have vision control on top side. TSM has it on bot side. So they say, all right, come fight where we are ready for it. Impact did just show, though, so they do have eyes on Impact here. He's marked, but watch Vulcan. He's going to look for the pivotal flank here, but he has been spotted by that control ward. And you have Solo marking Vulcan, Spica marking Impact, and that will push EG back. EG now with a late reset here, 40 seconds until Dragon. They got to get back out on the map and try to get some semblance of vision control because, again, they have absolutely nothing in this whole area. Not one ward on that side of the map.
This is the Hex Tech Soul if TSM can claim it here. EG will make it back out onto the map now. 25 seconds to go. They'll move through their own jungle. They don't even have time to go after the red buff. Pillar scares Spica away, but it doesn't force a flash. It doesn't force an ulti. Evil Geniuses moving forward. Impact trying to get that mid-wave shoved out here too. Give them as much priority as they can get. TSM are still the ones with control over the pit. TSM have Scuttle Crab as well. The extra speed, the extra vision, something that can't be removed. Very helpful in these types of standoffs.
Look at Vulcan and Impact.
Just lost half HP to Danny's poke. Solo trying to walk it off now a little bit here too. Vulcan's over the wall, but he is right on top of a ward that is now disabled by Impact's sweeper. Vulcan coming around from another even further angle.
They're going to go for this play. They're going to collapse from 3 angles.
Vulcan is summon up the quickness. He goes into the knockup onto 2. Jojo's ready to follow up, and Maple's already down before he can do a thing. Solo now isolated. EG turning back onto the tank, back onto the top laner. Impact keeping everybody else away as True Shot Barrage flies loose. Danny is going to stand and fight, and Inspired's going to kill Solo. TSM lose 2.
Scaling be damned when you are this good at team fighting. The multi-pronged attack here. The full wraparound from Vulcan nails the engage onto Maple, and at the exact same time, in comes Jojo. The Charm is there to follow it up. They burst down the Azir. On the other side, they're also winning out on the skirmish. EG just so clean with that engage, and now they're going to try to turn it into a Baron play.
Yeah, exactly. Death timers are so long this late in the game. It's 15 seconds before Maple comes up with TP. Same Solo, 25 seconds. It's going to be on a smite steal for Spica.
Let's see if Spica can do it. That would have to be the hero moment. Over the wall goes Vulcan, right back into the pit. Immediately after, Spica's over the wall. He steals it! Spica saves it for TSM!
That was clutch by Spica, stealing that one away. The playoff smite troubles continue for Inspired, taken away there to keep TSM in this game.
Oh my God, that could have been the game. That could have been the game right there. That buys them so much more time. EG were getting all the momentum. They wanted that Baron to slam hold the advantage, but again, watch this play. Vulcan on the super long wraparound. Jojo has a spellbook Ghost. He uses the Ghost and the ulti to come in at the same time. Right here, right into their Charm, and then Jojo nails the Charm on the follow-up. That was picture perfect. That engage is really, really beautiful, and that's what gets them that team fight win. Then Danny on the backside, of course, here, scrapping it out with Solo. They do get the kill, but we're back to live. They're looking for another pick here on Solo.
Solo is all alone here in the bottom lane against 3 evil geniuses. There's no way he lives. It's just how much time will this cost him? A little bit more damage. There we go.
Any second now.
Good Lord, it takes forever. Okay, Ornn is down, but EG had to use 3 players to do it. TSM with Baron pushing top.
And now EG are going to try to threaten and engage and push him back because they're saying we can't wave clear. That's why they're overloading one side of the map to actually look for the attack. Ezreal wave clear is terrible. Ahri is not going to do it. So they're trying to threaten here in the 5v4. Remember, Vulcan still has ulti and he does have flash. Vulcan is very far behind the team, but Danny's in trouble.
Danny almost dead. He's got to be so careful about this. There is no Guardian Angel on that Ezreal. Any random damage could take him out. Vulcan's still in position, but TSM now have the chance to get out. TSM have an escape path, and it looks like they'll be taking that one. No punish from EG. So honestly, it's a trade. An Ornn for an inhibitor. If you're TSM, I think you'll take that any day unless something else happens now. Charm over the wall, won't find Spica. He'll continue to walk away, and EG can't get anything back.
EG are hunting, though, always looking for flanks. It was critical that they got that chunk onto Danny, because otherwise Vulcan was gonna go. It would have been 4v5. They didn't use any ults really onto the side of Solo when they got that pick off either. So absolutely critical. They chunked out Danny, stuffed that engage, and then work as a group to get out of there. Here's that smite steal again. Chime comes in, throws the pink ward over so they get one vision. He's just spamming wards over the wall to give Spica as much information as possible.
It seems like EG was just completely out of wards. I don't think they had any wards left to actually keep eyes on Spica. Spica comes in, they do have him on sweeper, so they see it. That's a very early smite, it seemed like. That was like Q to 470, and then I think a chomp came through for 400, and then that put it to 78, and then the second smite comes through. So even like, it was a little bit early. You feel like he could have waited for 100 or 200 more HP and then tried to burst, or try to have a teammate time the burst with him. That's a tough one. You know, it's easy to kind of flame inspired for that, but these are very high pressure plays, and you have to make those calculations really exactly.
Alrighty, boys. 90 seconds until what finally has to be the Dragon Soul, no matter what.
Or they can just all fight to the death, and then the game can end.
I guess that would be the only way we could avoid this. Either way, we are getting some PvP here in the next 90 seconds or so. As that mid lane tier 2 finally falls, TSM with a 7-3 turret lead because they've been in control of the game for such a huge majority of the time so far. 39 minutes on the clock. It'll be a little past 40 by the time that Drake Soul spawns. Still about 2.5 minutes left before the top inhibitor respawns for EG. And you can see Impact's got his teleport. He's shoving out top lane as hard as he possibly can for this dragon fight.
Yeah, I think for EG side, they have had to deal with this condition over and over again now. Every time TSM gets there first because they have the better front to back, be able to buy the space, set up the vision, and then it's on EG to worm their way in from there. And already you see
look at where Vulcan is
resetting.
though. Tactical's pushing up. They may try to preempt the play here. He could look for a deep wraparound if TSM tries to heavily contest on mid, but TSM playing very far down, so there's not really a great angle here for Vulcan.
Now Spica was also wrapping around the other direction, sort of doing the mirror play that Vulcan was. They know that Impact is not with the rest of EG. Impact's clearing a ward. They're going in. They know Impact's not there. Jojo's going to be knocked up by the Ornn ulti, and there comes a swoop, but it's not going to do a whole lot. Vulcan's already down. TSM losing some health bars, but EG are the only ones who've lost a man. Guardian Angel's going to get procced as Impact tries to fight, but now he's going to have to be resurrected as well. Spica's clone dies. The real Spica barely gets away. Evil geniuses have lost their support. TSM haven't lost a thing.
But they have the health advantage here on the side of EG for a little bit. Danny's still full health here, and they're going to try to start this up. Inspired is trying to rush it down. We're going to see TP back here, potentially from Jojo and Impact.
They're ready to rejoin this. Inspired still hanging around. He does not want to let TSM be able to get away with this.
Flash advantages for the side of EG's carries as well.
Vulcan not alive for another 15 seconds. Inspired is low on health. Solo has a Warmogs. The Ornn is an immovable object here on the front line. The Drake getting hit a little bit by both sides. Inspired steps up. Azir soldiers right on top of the objective. Solo here in the front line finds knockoff onto Jojo, but the charm comes out. There's trouble. Here's the Hex Soul, and TSM claims it. Solo's gonna die. Impact's gonna do the same. Spica tries to get away as we've got top laner traded for top and mid.
Pressure as well on the top side of the base. TSM come out so far ahead on the end of that play, killing extra members of EG, grabbing the soul point. Hex Soul giving them such powerful combat stats. And already the base is getting ravaged by EG.
Oh my God, this game is so tense, but TSM now finally able to claim the soul there. Solo pushing forward, just buying the space. You know, giving up his life, I think has had some really good deaths for TSM. You know, unironically,
it sounds funny, but
it's one of those situations, you know, the death in top lane actually buying time for Maple to survive, this one buying time for them to claim the soul. Now TSM going to be able to grab a free Baron here. And for EG, you're just hoping and praying you can capitalize on some sort of mistake from TSM here later on, because all of the items are through, all of the Ornn upgrades are through. The advantage is monumental now for TSM as far as stats. You can give him another 4K or so as Danny's in trouble.
Danny may just die to Maple, barely gets away from the soldiers. That Leandries was burning him dangerously close. TSM, they've got Soul, they've got Baron. They got a 4,500 gold lead. They're nearly full build on practically everybody, but it always happens this way. The pick potential, again, will stop TSM.
Spica just taking the close route to the wall. Didn't think he could get 100 to 0. He had the clone as well, thinking that he had all the opportunity to get out of there if they jumped on him, but gives that kill up, relieves so much pressure for EG. They had an open inhibitor in the top side, and they are able to force TSM back now.
And now, look at Vulcan. He's going for the wraparound. They're going to try to force on this play. Tactical's in trouble.
Tactical, he uses the ulti. The Everfrost is there. Jojo baits him. Jojo beats him!
That was so sick. Jojo goes point blank there to then use the Q, so all Tactical can react to is the cast animation. You can't wait to see the projectile. Baits him with the Q, gets the ulti out there, then perfectly times the charm to get the kill. EG now will be on the push here. Let's see this one more time. Again, he's gonna close the gap. If you shoot at max range, he can wait for the projectile. When he's this close, you cannot. He sees the cast animation, he pops the ulti, and that charm was cracked from Jojo.
That was just beautiful. I don't know if that's Fortnite mechanics or what.
That's pixel perfect.
That's the kind of energy Jojo's gonna be bringing. Spica's gonna be caught again. He tries to get away with the ulti, but the Everfrost leads him to an icy grave.
TSM are coming apart at the seams now. Pickoff after pickoff after pickoff going in EG's way. Just takes the Hex Gate to his doom there. Now, we don't have any major objectives up for EG to push off of this. So despite these series of incredible plays, they don't actually have this amazing way to win the game, but it did stop what felt like a doom scenario with that Baron push.
Absolutely, and it bought them time to potentially get that one big fight at Elder, right? You know, you started to feel like with that Baron, with the Soul, TSM could potentially close the game. At Elder, it's anyone's game. If it comes down to a smite, if EG wins it, Soul be damned, gold advantage be damned, scaling be damned. Elder is the equalizer there, and that's what EG is going to be thinking about now.
This game is so crazy. It started with EG having the early game comp, making a massive mistake, falling 3K down, their dragon stacking, stopping, and it feels like ever since then, they've been clawing to find some control back in the game because there's so many natural advantages working in TSM's favor that they're just fighting from underneath them the entire time, and they've done such a good job from that. It's just they have so many natural disadvantages to their comp.
Yeah, I mean, when you draft, you know, yourself into this big of a disadvantage in the later stages of the game, you have to absolutely outplay. And they've been so good at finding multiple angles of attack, and without being able to find these different angles from Vulcan, from Jojo, and from Impact, this game would have been over 10, 15 minutes ago, it feels like. But EG are able to find that. Danny, though, in trouble here. He has no flash.
You want to talk about angles? Tactical may have just found the angle that wins the game.
I think they could. I think they can look for pushing for the end here. This is the longest game of playoffs so far, but TSM now may have everything they need to close this one out. EG's wave clear is pitiful without it. Vulcan trying to cut the wave.
Vulcan, he can't do a whole lot with it, but Tactical is dead here in the mid lane. Inspired's gonna be focused pretty low, but he ain't down yet. Jojo wants to get away. Impact flying back as the World Ender is about to stop. They'll still try to fight this one off. TSM going forward. There's one Nexus turret left. EG's got to get back out onto the map here and now. Turret goes down. Nexus open. Inspired dead. TSM is going for the win. It won't be a 3-0 unless TSM says it's so. They will take out the #1 seed. They'll pad the stats, and TSM strike first.
Opening game defies all expectations. TSM find the win over EG off the back of Maple at the end of it. Danny getting picked off as well by Tactical. both carries by TSM making huge plays.
Absolutely. I mean, Tactical gets a solo kill on Danny, then dies without using Summoners or Ultimate. You start thinking, hey, maybe is it going to flip around? But Maple coming up big at the very end there. This one was an absolute banger, back and forth game here. 46.5 minutes it took for TSM to close this one out. Down in kills overall, 15-18. You know, we got 7 dragons, we got multiple barons, we had baron steals, we had near comebacks. Like, this one had everything. I will say for EG though, they did a hell of a job in the later stages to actually stay competitive when they had been very heavily outscaled. And I do wonder now, do you actually pivot away from the kind of draft that they brought out here? Because they did not do anything close to running over TSM in the early game. Maybe they should just go late and match them, because they did look like they were handling that late game pretty well.
Yeah, already looking forward to head to game 2, because I'm so excited to see the adaptations that are going to come in. The first pick, Trundle, didn't really do anything that great. He had good pillars, but that's just not what you associate with MVP potentially inspired here. And the fact that they went so early game, got outscaled, and then eventually just fell apart to that.
I feel like this series, more so even than what you would normally expect, is gonna come down to the mental. Whose mind is Asgard? Because there were mistakes from both sides.
Titanium.
Mistakes. Exactly. Adamantium brain. Because both sides had very costly mistakes in this one. Spica stealing away the Baron. Tactical getting caught when he thought he found Danny. Both sides had wide open holes in their defenses, and both sides are going to have to just be absolutely focused for the rest of the series.
And it's really interesting, you know, and I don't know how EG is going to feel about this, but if I was on EG, if I was the coach for this, I look at this and I say, if I drafted late game, we win this game 100% of the time. If I drafted scaling, we are on even keel, we win this game every single time, and maybe the Trundle's not the problem. Maybe it should be Danny on Jinx, and you're going scaling, and you're just looking to match TSM in 5v5.
All right, well, I'm sweating after that one, so I got to find a towel or something. And while the team's ready up for game number 2, thank you, Isaac. Get yourself a buddy like Isaac. We're heading over to the State Farm analyst desk.
Oh, no. I didn't see.
That's a bro move right there, Azael. Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. As I'm starting to wonder why the heck we're even here, because I don't know how to make sense of what's happening in this LCS postseason. There may as well be 4 golden retrievers up here running the analyst desk at this point.
Regular season doesn't matter. What only matters is how you do in these individual best of fives.
There it is.
They are 1-4 in the postseason. They were a 15-3 regular season. TSM showed up today.
So I'm going to talk about this draft because it's I don't like to call things a hard out draft, but this is a hard out draft by TSM. Even with EG anticipating that Solo was going to counterpick himself, the Ornn.
Yep.
I love the Janna late picks that we are seeing into a lot of these team compositions. Wow, I can't even talk. And then also, you know, we were talking about like you want your AD carry on something where they can hyper carry late, because that has been, I would have honestly, like, I don't even think it's necessarily overwhelmingly good here, but I would have even liked to have seen like a Jinx for Danny, like something he's super comfortable on, but that also scales to the degree that TSM's composition does. Because the fact that EG were able to actually hang in this game as long as they were with these compositions is weirdly impressive despite the loss.
I think, yes, the Janna 5 pick, I think, was a really strong point. We saw that from Core JJ the other day, and I can understand, like, the value in that, and it showcased itself. I think Chime, as smart as he is the type of player to really dip into a larger champion pool than people really know and find value. This is a great stuff that he had, too. And even better is Solo sacrificing himself for Maple there. It kind of, in my mind, during this play, I was thinking, my sacrifice from Creed, because he's doing it for the team. But it was a muddy game, but it was predominantly with a lead from TSM.
Yeah, I mean, the Baron steal that came in from Spica ended up being incredibly clutch. More smite issues coming through for EG. They did win this fight here. It was actually very back and forth, but I completely agree with Emily. When we originally saw these drafts, we thought that it would be TSM favored. And when we talked about the champion pools before the series, I thought first one to pick Ornn. It should be an Ornn race. It's really weird to me that EG preempted the Aatrox pick as if it was going to be able to take over the mid game, and that's all they need. Look at how long it takes to kill Solo. He's just buying time the entire game, and it manages to make up for misplays like this. Tactical, way too far up, Gale Force ult, frame perfect from
Same
JoJo.
charm, actually.
But the timing just didn't work out for EG. Like, they literally got a pick on Spica, a pick on Tactical, a pick on Spica, but no objectives were up, no waves were pushed, and the game could just end like this.
And when we talk about these two compositions, I think the other interesting thing to keep track of that interested me going into the series, especially since Inspired called it out, is mid-jungle and what they were going to be doing early, right? We talked about how C9 were able to track Inspired in their loss that they had earlier last week. And one thing that was super interesting about this game to me is EG opted into this like early to mid game comp. We've talked about how they're not the type of team who are gonna like just smash you early regardless. But then Inspired actually did have a really nice sequence where he was tracking Spica very well, but that didn't necessarily translate to him making plays with his lanes.
Yeah, and just taking a look at the goal graph here, it kind of showcases very clearly how back and forth this game was. Just simply from the point of TSM had a dominant lead. And then Evil Geniuses were able to team fight their way back into it. Look at the faces
Look
of
at this. This is the
Tactical.
This is the face of someone who's not feeling pressure.
Yeah.
Right? And JoJo, after the game, was the face of someone who's feeling pressure for the first time.
So I was gonna ask how we feel or how we think maybe EG is internalizing that loss, because as we talked to or heard from Santorin yesterday, when you lose and you feel like it's at your own expense or your own fault, at least from Santorin's perspective, it's easier to climb out of that hole. If it really is chalked up to like, yo, we got out drafted, I mean, you'd like to believe the players can step back on stage and just turn it around like that.
And I just don't want them to think that, because I don't think it was that hard of an outdraft. I think it was, it also lended itself to play as well. There are two points of the map, two objective fights that were really, for me, pivotal, that reminded me of their game versus C9. One was the Rift Herald fight, the other one was the Dragon fight. Specifically the Rift Herald fight, we saw here a numbers advantage initially for TSM, even though Evil Geniuses started it, because Ahri was slower to get to the fight. And so when she finally joined, you already had a dead Inspired that, was engaged upon by TSM. So TSM got the better fight here. This was another situation where Ornn was able to get free plates on top side of the map. Aatrox ended up going top side, and it was just another situation where TSM had a better positioning on the objective, and Maple had a great angle on 3 members. And then you look at this angle, and it was just also Aatrox not prioritizing the right targets. He came in late once again. This is another example of a member coming in late for a team fight. So these are 2 points where Evil Geniuses were a strong team fighting team in the regular season. But then for objectives, misplayed twice versus TSM. And so you can blame the draft a few times, but it's all for me, ultimately not what lost them this game.
Raz, I got one more for you.
Give it to me.
So we talked about Solo being a disruptor.
Uh-oh. Yes.
This to me was peak Solo. I've seen this happen in scrims like 3,000 times, but it actually happened on stage. And to your EG point, actually, like, EG excelled in the regular season because they were always in the right place.
Yes.
But like Solo plays like an animal, and you're feeling forced to stop him. So this is a play right here. TSM is down 2 Drakes to 0. Drake is spawning. He just pushes up where he absolutely shouldn't be. JoJo comes in on Ahri. Also, there's a flank around the corner with Aatrox, but you look at the player cam, completely unperturbed. I need to freeze frame this. I need to freeze frame this on the right moment. Look,
oh, there we go.
Immediately goes for the pink wheel. Like, he's not checking on Dragon. He knows what's happening. He's ready to give him the question mark ping. And then, like, after dying in the side lane, he watches on what's happening on the rest of the map. They're pushing bot, getting prio. The rest of the team is taking Dragon. This kid is just laughing on stage. Like, he's under, he has no pressure for what he's doing this game, but it's actually peak Solo. I'm very surprised he didn't type as well, like nice gank XP, because he'd normally do that. But it's just like, I don't see EG chasing a kill in the side lane for their Aatrox in the regular season, but for some reason they're doing it against Solo. What they should be doing is, if they're gonna chase a kill, it has to be because Danny's roaming up. Like, where is the Danny funnel? I have not seen it from them all playoffs.
Yeah, I think, and this goes back to the marriage of draft and execution, right? Because we have had entire segments. I felt like every single Telestrator segment I did in spring that was EG positive was them leveraging stuff like Herald to funnel gold into Danny, right? Like that was the EG classic, the EG special. And it also goes back to kind of what Blabber said about this team, where it's like, they're not going to smash you early, but their mid game, their positioning, like their team fighting, that's where they're going to get you. And one thing we've seen in the previous series and now in this game is stuff like this, right? Where they're not cross-mapping in the same manner that they used to.
Yeah, and honestly, at that point of the game, hey, maybe just trying to get the free gold topside because you weren't even interested in going for the dragon fight because you were pretty far behind.
Possible.
But that's Solo's values. He recognizes the right play on the map.
40% kill participation in that game.
There it is.
Less than half the kills.
But he actually lowered his KP average against Impact in the head-to-head, but he added one to the win column, now 11-9 in the head-to-head. Complete the sweep, and y'all tied up at 11. Very few people expected Game 1 to go the way that it did. We'll see if our reigning champions can bounce back and tie up the series in Game number 2 right after this.
Oh yeah, can I get the BB box instead?
You earned it from Kukui.
Yeah, that's mine now. Actually, no, ref. Save the box for game. Actually, last game, game 3.
Let's see if Spica can do it. That would have to be the hero moment. Over the wall goes Vulcan, right back into the pit. Immediately after, Spica's over the wall. He gets it! He steals it! Spica saves it for TSM!
But EG are able to find that Danny, though, in trouble here. He has no flash.
You want to talk about angles? Tactical may have just found the angle that wins the game.
They give us love. They give us joy. They give us lessons in sharing. So give them some love back. And what says love better than something you can chew on? Use your MasterCard to make secure purchases from anywhere. So your gift will end up in the right hands or mouth. Because being there for each other is priceless.
Upgrade your shimmering slippers to keep sparkling.
Hey, Ash, what's your plan?
A new and very serious game, Jake from State Farm. But these in-game purchases are wrecking my wallet. I can't keep sparkling, Jake. I need a sparkle.
State Farm has options like combining home and auto, so you get a rate that fits your budget.
Very nice. The gameplay is really strategic, I swear.
For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.
Red Bull gives you wings.